It being 6:29 on Wednesday, January 29th, I call this meeting of the Brockton Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with Governor Healy's open meeting provisions updated in March of 2023, which extend certain COVID-19 provisions until March 31st, 2025. Real-time public participation and comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. If you wish to comment during the public input portion of the hearing, please use the raise your hand function to be addressed at the appropriate time. For those of you joining by phone only, please press *9 to raise your hand. A copy of this recording will be on the city's webpage. Please note that this is a professional meeting. Should disrespectful or inappropriate statements be made during the meeting, the host reserves the right to mute the speaker. All votes taken during this meeting will be done by roll call vote to ensure count accuracy. Good, Justin is here. Is Peggy available, do you know?
I've not spoken to her since I've been on.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Commissioners, please state your first and last name for the record in order that we might establish quorum.
Peggy Curtis.
Lily Green. Teresa Mapp.
Justin Talbot.
And Joyce Warris, and quorum is established. Okay, thank you. Before we begin, I'd like to just make an announcement of 3 adjustments to the agenda. The first one, number 5, is a certificate of compliance for 455 Oak Street. That's been withdrawn and will be refiled in May. Number 13, 0 Hammond Street, is an ANRAD that will be continued to the February meeting. And number 14, 68 12th Avenue, an NOI, which will be continued to March. And so we'll begin with the first commission matter, which is meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance, commissioners, to read over the minutes from December 18th? Any questions, concerns, omissions, changes? No.
I'm going to abstain from it, so I don't know if I should just say it now or when we vote.
Okay, that's fine. You can just say it at that time. That's fine.
Okay.
As long as there are no omissions or changes from the people, present here, if you could, someone make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion for the December 18th, 2024 minutes as read.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes from the December 18th meeting as read. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye. Mapp,
Talbot, aye.
abstain. Oh, sorry.
Fine. That's fine. And Boris, aye. With 1 abstention, the motion carries. Thank you. So the minutes have been accepted. Okay. First order on the agenda. The first item on the agenda for new filing is an amended order of conditions for 159 Torrey Street, a solar array. That's at Dwayne Lee. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair. I've promoted the representative to be a panelist.
Mike Addison?
Good evening. So, can you hear me?
Hi, Mr. Patterson, certainly.
Good evening. My name is Mike Patterson. I'm here representing NextGrid. Good evening to the board and Madam Chair. Tonight, we are requesting an amendment to our existing order of conditions. So originally, we had a planning board approval that lapsed in July of 28th, 2023. due to some unforeseen circumstances, unfortunately. So we submitted a new application. Part of that process was a technical review meeting that was held on May 28th, 2024. During this meeting, the fire chief brought up that he had some concerns regarding the ability for him to get his equipment in and out of the site. He requested that we turn the stockpile area into a gravel turnaround area. So that is what we changed and resubmitted for an order of conditions. Let's see here. I apologize. Can I? Okay, I can share my screen. I'm gonna try to share my screen here. Wow.
In the meantime, you have submitted a list of abutters. You have sent notifications to abutters.
Yeah, we did confirm that the abutter notifications have been sent.
Okay.
Apologize, I am having difficulties. What just happened?
We can see I can see the plan.
Oh, you can't? I can't see anything now. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so this is the updated design. Everything in it that I submitted, everything in it is the same, except there's just this one note. So this area right here, noted as the stockpile area, currently there is some stored piles of, I will say, soil. Part of the plan was originally we're going to level that out and it would be used for stockpiling for the equipment as construction was being completed. So the next idea is to just change it after the stockpile, after the site is completely built, then this area in here would just be put down as a crushed gravel turnaround area. As you can see, there will be no disturbance to these existing berms. These berms act as a buffer between the site and the existing wetlands, so there will be no change to that. So that is currently the only change that we are requesting approval for. There's no other changes we were made to the original design that was approved. Can I answer any questions?
Where would be the access point for that turnaround?
So there's an existing gravel road right here. And then this is just an old piece of pavement, which will be removed. So the access to here would be back through this area right here, through the existing road.
I'm sorry, could you just point that out again? So,
Yeah. So let's see if so right here, this is it's an existing gravel road.
Mhm.
And then it comes through and accesses up here. My understanding is fire chief would have their equipment back through this area right here. So then they would basically back through this existing area into the turnaround area and then be able to reverse and then go back and leave through the same way they came. And this goes through. So there's this existing gravel access drive that comes in from Thorny Lee Terrace, comes down around here, and then follows all the way up here to the access. So this area is going to be cleaned regardless for the development of the solar field. And now we would just put down a gravel turnaround area right here, and the fire trucks could be able to back in from here and then leave.
and what is the labeling on that other vertical existing wide sewer easement?
Yes, there's an existing 30-foot wide sewer easement that passes through the property from the north to the south.
And is that flush with the surface of of where that turnaround area would be?
I'm not sure. I haven't been out there, but from what I can see, through like Google Maps and everything, I do not see that there's anything showing there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Kyle, do you have any questions?
No questions.
No?
Nope.
Do you feel that like that area, that the entire turnaround area should like access point be shown
To
on the
be
map?
gravelled.
Well,
Yeah.
so I mean, I can get into the agent report if you want. Is that
Yeah,
you
that
are
would
you
be
wanting
fine.
me to? Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Oh,
Um, So yeah, as Mike is aware, they initially filed this with the commission months and months ago. We just had a trouble getting it on an agenda. So my agent report was, I think, initially dated from November, but nothing's really changed in that report. So ultimately, during the initial review of this for the initial order of conditions, the commission had their third-party reviewer Beta, the Beta group, review this for compliance with stormwater standards. With this new addition of this gravel turnaround, my recommendation is that the commission refer this out to their new third-party consultant just to confirm that the changes adhere to the stormwater standards, because we're going to be adding a large impervious surface to the site that wasn't accounted for initially. So that's my recommendation. As far as Mike, this might come up with the review if the commission chooses to go down that route. Having a little bit more detail as to what the turnaround is going to actually look like on the plan might be helpful for them to calculate, the amount of impervious area, the change in that impervious versus just the natural ground area. Because right
Okay,
now
understood.
it's kind of very broadly, this is the turnaround area. We don't really know what that looks like, but that can be something that comes up in the discussion with the third party review process.
Okay, and then just question, why would it be considered impervious if it's going to be like crushed gravel, which
Well,
my understanding.
I misspoke.
Oh,
Crushed
okay,
gravel would be pervious surface, but you are adding that there, and I don't know if that would qualify for any additional review as far as the stormwater standards. So we can just confirm that with a peer reviewer, and if that's all that it is, and it doesn't require that it doesn't require standards, to meet the stormwater standards, but this project was originally reviewed for stormwater, and it's not exempt from stormwater standards. So this addition of the new pervious area, again, I misspoke earlier with the gravel. I just want to make sure that we're still meeting those standards. So for any kind of stormwater standards review, generally the commission is referring that type of work out to their third party consultant.
understood. I will talk to our designer and I will get a better definition of the turnaround area. You know, as you mentioned, it should probably be extended to this area over here so it's better accessed by the fire department's equipment. Can I answer any other questions?
I have a question. It seems like a very large area to be gravelled. Was there another plan for that area and then you changed it to a gravel area? And if you can move it closer towards the road, wouldn't that be better for the turnaround?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree, absolutely. Originally, it was just going to be um, left to, I'd say, do as it does. So any type of natural growth that would have occurred would have been left. So yes, you do bring up a good point. I will talk to our designer. I will also talk to the fire chief just to confirm like what type of and size of the turnaround area he would require, and then I can have these design updated and resubmitted
And
for
then
your
I have
review.
another question. Um, it snows in New England, and it's gravel is not really plowable, is it? So if there were need for the fire department and the snow, I mean, how would they, um, turn around their trucks and snow and on the gravel area?
The plowed, it's just a little bit more difficult.
All right. And where do you pile up your snow, if you don't mind my asking?
That I do not know. That would be, I do not know.
Thank you.
There's some that's topographical feature that under soil or something. Will that be taken down?
I apologize. You broke up for a second. Could you repeat your question?
Yeah, it looks like see that topographical feature in the upper left-hand corner of the fire turnaround area?
This right
That
here,
right there.
yes.
Is that like a mound of
I
soil?
believe I believe so. It's just like a mound of like, so I had a picture. Let's put, if you look up on Google Earth, so this entire area used to be rented to the farm up north.
Right, Gareth?
And I believe it just looks like there was like soil storage in this area down here.
Mhm.
Because looking at the pictures, there's additional like piles of soil.
So would you expect that to all have to be leveled out in order to lay the gravel? I would expect, no?
Correct. I mean, although again, as Miss Curtis brought up, good point. If we're change the stockpile area, excuse me, the turnaround area to this section here,
Mm-hmm.
as long as it's dependent that it is, I mean, it should be wide enough and long enough for the fire department. In that case, we may leave this area as it is, and then it could be seeded with natural grass and could be more of a natural environment in that section.
Hi. I actually have a question real quick. So I know this is kind of for you mentioned once the project is done, this will be the gravel and everything. Is it still going to be used for stockpiling during the construction for materials? And then it'll be
Correct.
cleaned up and then, so
Correct. So
on
they
the
would,
map,
oh, sorry.
sorry.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so yes, it'll be used for stockpiling during construction, and then after construction, it'll be turned into the gravel road. So
The turnaround area, yes.
put around area, yeah. I know we're talking about moving the stockpile area as well as then like turning it into the turnaround area. But so on the original plan, the stockpile area is really big and it goes like past the, it looks like a little bit past the 50-foot wetland buffer. So would you be okay like making sure like because originally the plan was to use that whole area for stockpile, so you could in theory use that whole area for stockpile and then change the turnaround area, but would it also be okay to make sure that the layout of where the stockpile area is outside, hopefully the 50 and if possible the 100-foot buffer zone as well? Because I think for the stockpile you might hopefully not need that whole area. I understand for maybe the turnaround you might have to go a little bit into the 100-foot because of whatever requirements emergency vehicles need. But I guess my I'm already talking about moving that, but I guess my other ask is like about the stockpile area where it is on the map. Moving it completely outside of the 100 buffer zone would be possible.
I think the 100 is halfway up the map, isn't it?
Yeah,
Well,
so the 100-foot is like right here.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think
then the 50-foot is over here. So we're outside, it'll be outside of the 50-foot area. But there will be we will be partially in the 100-foot area.
Okay. There's a little bit that's past the 50-foot, just in that left corner.
But as I said, I will reach out and have a longer discussion with the fire chief, just to find out exactly, because as you said, if we could do this section right here, there we go. It's right here, sorry, large as the turnaround area, because then it gives it better access. So if this part right here was that, and then we would only be encroaching on part of the 50-foot over here, but again, I'd like to note that it's also these existing berms are not going to be disturbed, so they act as as a protective buffer between any of our work and the wetlands.
But okay, so whatever we refer to a third party would have these updates anyway, correct? Your final plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, Kyle, you have your hand up. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to offer a little bit of clarification about the stockpile area. It's been a minute since I read through the original order of conditions that the commission's already approved, but it was my understanding that that stockpile area, while it may be used for stockpiling things for the construction of the solar field, that area was also going to be allowed for Thorny Golf Course, the golf course that this property is associated with, just to use as a stockpile area as they need. And so Mike had mentioned there are additional piles of materials out there, and that's what it's kind of currently being used for. Is just this might be a sand pile that they might use for a bunker or something on the golf course. Materials like that would be stockpiled here after all the construction is completed as well. So, Mike, you might want to just make sure that when you're doing the gravel turnaround, that the golf course also thinks they have enough area there to utilize in the way that they were originally intending, or at least have that discussion with them before we, have a new final plan set that you're going to submit to the commission. Thank you.
You said.
And Peggy, you have your hand up? Thank you.
Yeah, my question has to do with the stockpile. What materials are in the stockpile, and are they any of them hazardous or have the ability to leach into the wetland area?
I think they're just piles of soil. I was looking up on Google Earth, and they just look like piles of dirt, and half of them have, I'd say, grass and weeds growing on top of them.
Wooded dirt, or is it just leftover dirt from the solar field?
Uh, we have not touched this property yet. It's still in its existing form as a leftover farm area.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we didn't, the stockpile area, none of that is from us. I believe it's from Thorny Lee, what they were doing with it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure if Gary's farm used pesticides or herbicides or any of that stuff. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure they do. It's a golf course, but not back here.
No, I mean, this was Gary Farms before. This was part of Gary's
Oh,
farm.
yeah, as the farm beforehand, sure.
Yeah.
Do you, when you're putting in the solar field, are you going to be putting anything in the stockpile as you construct the solar field in addition to whatever's, well, I guess it's getting level too, but I mean, I guess to jump off of Peggy, if that area is being to stockpile, what kind of material would you be storing there as you are constructing the solar farm?
We wouldn't be stockpiling stuff. I mean, we would be. My understanding is there'd be some civil work to level out the land, and then we have to put in obviously the piles and the racking for the PVs, the solar array, and then obviously there's the drainage that's put in that's already been approved and that was proposed and approved. So my understanding, like we may have to put some equipment there as it's being used as we're building the array. But no, we have no plans of stocking any stuff there. As Kyle mentioned, it's for Thorny Lee to continue using as they are currently using it for stockpiling dirt and other materials. But we don't have any plans. Once the system is built, our equipment will be contained within a fence in this area up here.
Any other questions?
One quick question, Madam Chair. Mike, when you say equipment, do you mean civil engineer equipment? You mean the racking? Do you mean the bases for the transformer? I mean, I'm looking, this is a 500 kVA transformer. This is not a solar array, this is a solar field. I mean, this is a big project, right? I mean, this, just being a dumb electrician, depending on the voltage coming in here, this thing's either gonna do 46,000 amps, 4,600 amps or 600 amps, and that's power, you know?
I'm sorry. I think I may have missed your question. I apologize. I think you're muted now,
Yeah, I'm
sir.
sorry. The main question was, you said machinery. Was it gonna be machinery where you're gonna do the civil work? Or is it all the
Correct, like-
racking systems and all that stuff you're gonna just be setting down?
So there'd be, machinery for doing the, civil work that's required. And then there'll be machinery to put in the piles that the racking will be connected to. But no, I don't think we have any plans of storing any type of equipment out here.
Okay,
And then due to just like how it has to be moved around, it'll come in basically in, sections.
sure. Thank you.
Of course.
I'm sorry, do you have erosion controls in that stockpile area now? Do you have anything indicating on the map where the erosion controls would be?
Let's see here. I believe there was. Um, so I believe, so it looks like there is a drip edge on every single one to prevent any type of runoff from causing erosion. And then the entire thing is also planted with a native wildflower and grass mix to prevent erosion. But yeah, every single row has its own, I think they call it a French drain. Because basically it's a 3 foot wide by 18-inch deep trench along the drip edge with crushed gravel in it to absorb water and prevent any type of runoff erosion.
I just meant for the construction part, for the construction phase.
My understanding is there'll be the usual type of like wattle stuff that's put along or all around the edge of the construction, like wattle and fencing to prevent any type of erosion and protect. And also, I mean, again, it's the existing berms also, help severely with preventing any type of erosion.
Okay, thank you. Elise?
Hi, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out that where there's a red line with little X's, it looks like that's a call out for proposed silt sock or silt. I can't see it on the screen labeled now, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Proposed
it looks
silt
like,
sock.
yeah,
Right,
that
I
would be the
didn't
erosion
see that
control.
around the stockpile area. I only saw the straight little line, not the, and
I think the intention, Madam Chair, is that the stockpile has that raised berm around the bottom and to the left side of the screen there. If you look up top next to where the solar field is,
yes,
there's erosion controls there that terminate on that corner, and then they also pick up down at the bottom of that raised berm. So I think the intention was the
Okay.
berm would collect and funnel anything any water that's moving through that area through the system as designed and
Okay.
approved.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I entertain a motion then to refer, to continue to the next meeting and refer to third party for review as suggested by the agent.
I make a motion to continue 159 Torrey Street with the hope that it will be sent to third party review in the future once that gets figured out.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to continue to the February meeting with referral for third-party review, peer review. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Map I.
Talbot, I.
And Boris, aye. That motion passes. Okay,
Madam
you.
Chair, just on that third-party review, I had an update today compared to last night when we spoke about it briefly.
Oh, good.
The mayor did execute that last contract, so all three contracts have been executed. So at this point, I need to do some back-end work on our end, but I hope to begin sending out, in order that we've received them, I will send out chunks of projects that need review, hopefully beginning next week. So great.
Great. Finally, that's great. I'm sure all of the applicants are happy as well.
Well, I haven't told them yet, but it's coming around. So, but yeah, that's been kind of handled. So we're good to move forward with peer
Okay.
reviews.
That's great. Thank you.
Good Chinese New Year gift.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson. Thanks for sharing.
Have a nice evening.
You too. Next item on the agenda is RDA, a request for determination of applicability for 700 Oak Street.
That is correct, Madam Chair. One moment, please. Here, let's see. So we did. I spoke with the representative. This is the Walmart Supercenter project. They're doing additional work on the parking lot. They decided to kind of shift the scope of their project last minute after they had submitted materials to the commission. But they've already gone through and done the. Let's see. They did I think it was a legal notice you have to put out for an RDA, so that's already been done. So they've asked if we could open the hearing tonight and then just continue to next month. That way they can supply us with the revised set of plans.
So they won't be speaking. They won't
Yeah,
be
they won't be.
speaking.
Yeah, they're not planning on attending the meeting tonight.
Okay,
So they're going to submit a new set of plans for us to review for the next month's meeting.
sure. Okay. Then I entertain a motion to continue 700 Oak Street, the request for an RDA, to the February 19th meeting.
I make a motion to continue 700 Oak Street to the February 19th meeting. And hope
I'll
that we get
second the motion.
A motion's been made and seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Map I.
Talbot, I.
And Boris, aye. The motion passes. Continue. Okay. The next item on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance for Arthur Estates. A road extension. The road extension section, right?
Yeah, that is correct. I see a few people in the attendees. I'm going to go ahead and promote them. If there's anyone else that's here to represent this project, please raise your hand if I don't promote you to panelist. Madam Chair, I promoted Jason Kennedy and Andrew Spath.
Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Spath, welcome.
Good evening. Can you hear us?
I can hear Mr. Spath.
Super.
Hi, Mr.
Good evening.
Kennedy. How are you?
Sorry, Jason Kennedy here. I just couldn't see you guys for a second. Good evening. We have completed our scope of work extending Arthur Estates. We submitted a certificate of compliance with supporting documentation from our botanist, Brad Holmes from ECR, stating that we've complied with the order of conditions and that all the work has been done in a satisfactory order. Furthermore, our professional engineer, Greg Driscoll of JDE Civil, formerly of PMP Associates, supported documentation stating that we did that. We've also provided an as-built. We understand the agent had some concerns And we address those concerns in a follow-up letter submitted directly to you, Ms. Voorhees. And we feel like we are in full compliance with the order of conditions for the roadway.
Do you have the as-built available at all for just to take a quick look at?
Sure. Yeah, let me work on that. If you guys have any other questions, I don't know how to screen share.
There should be a bottom, Jason, bottom of the screen.
I believe you have a copy with, right? Kyle?
Yeah, I can do that too if you would
Yeah,
like.
that'd be, yeah, sure.
Yeah, give me one moment, please.
The only concern I had about the letter, that I did receive a letter, but I received it yesterday,
Yep.
like at noon time, with a
Sure.
request to forward it on to the commissioners.
Mhm.
And we had a meeting last night, so I'm not even sure if commissioners had a chance to even look at it. I know that there was a letter, there were some photos, there were the engineer reports and the reports from restoration. Those had been in the file, so I had seen those before. But I don't know if the commissioners had a chance to really look at that. It was received fairly late, and by the time I, forwarded them to them, I have no idea whether or not they were even able to access and take a look at it. And it seemed as though the letter had been written. The date on the letter was written on the 24th as an email, but I didn't actually receive it as an email until the 28th. So I know that normally we try to get things at least, hopefully 2 weeks in advance.
Well, it was in
And-
rebuttal
before.
this was just breaking up.
Oh, okay. So this
It
is,
seemed like it stopped.
so this is your as-built right now for Arthur Street is going off to the left, is that correct?
No,
no.
yes. Yeah, yes, the main part of Arthur Street, yes, we extended it and improved the dead end to a cul-de-sac.
Okay. Kyle, would you want to have some input here?
Sure, if we're ready to move on to that. Jason, do you guys have anything else to say about before I kind of go on my little tangent?
I'm sure we will, Kyle. So, because we've complied, and I know you stated there was erosion from the grass strip going into the stones that we had at the end, which also helps erosion. But we addressed that yesterday in the pictures to the board, the commission, I should say, and we installed erosion control blankets around the entire cul-de-sac circle, even though it was really just that one area you had the picture in. So, yeah, sure.
All right. So I guess I'm just going to take a step back and kind of just talk through the process of how things are normally done here, so everyone's just aware. Generally speaking, when the commissioner receives I'm going to end sharing the screen, I guess, if we're done looking at this map for the moment. 1 second, let me put this up. Okay, so when we receive a request for certificate of compliance, generally speaking, that's submitted to the commission there's a submittal deadline. That way the commission has time to review the submitted materials. I received their request on I think it was the 8th of January. Went out to the site, did a site visit, which is required. Wrote up an agent report, sent that out to the commission, sent that also to the applicant as a courtesy so they can kind of be prepared to know what will be discussed at the meeting, which is tonight. In the meantime, the applicant has gone on and done changes to the site. I've not had a chance to go out there and visit the site in the meantime because, as mentioned before, that was submitted to the commission at like noon yesterday. So my recommendations in the agent report are not necessarily accurate anymore. That being said, I don't necessarily have a firm recommendation to give to the commission. The applicant saying they're in compliance. I had issues with the erosion control or some erosion that was on site and some other things, and we can go through that in a moment. But as far as if things have been addressed or not. Generally, Jason and Andrew, the meeting like tonight would be where we would discuss with the applicant what needs to be done to bring the sign up to the point where the commission would be comfortable granting that certificate of compliance request. I'd still like to have that discussion with you gentlemen this evening. But that's just kind of how generally the process works. And then after we have this meeting tonight, and the commission is able to weigh in on what specific asks they would like to be met, then at that point the applicant can go out and make those changes. And then once all those things have been addressed to the satisfaction of the commission, then the certificate of compliance is granted. So that's just generally how things work for this type of thing. And again, so I went out to the site on the 9th of January. So I'm not sure when all this additional work has been done, but obviously that was done after the 9th. So at this point, I've not been out there. I can't confirm nor deny any of the work that's been done.
Well, I sent pictures, Kyle.
Excuse me, Jason.
So, no, I sent pictures, so you can confirm it.
I've not been out to the
No,
site.
but I have, and it was a very minimal area.
Mr. Kennedy, through the chair,
But
please.
that's no, this is
Through
a
the chair,
public
please.
meeting. Chair, this is a public meeting. I addressed the concerns. Kyle's making it sound like such a process. There were literally, for the scope of work that we did, converting a dead end at the end of a road where people used to gather and do drugs into a beautiful cul-de-sac. He's talking about 2 feet of erosion that didn't even erode into the wetlands or on the road.
Okay,
And we went around 300 feet around this whole thing with the blankets. I sent pictures. I can show you pictures right now.
Before we do
I
that.
don't know why it has to be such a process.
Mr. Kennedy, before you do that, I believe Kyle was in the middle of giving us his information. So I believe he had some photos from his visit on the 9th, and I would like to see those if that's possible.
Yeah, but you saw the photos.
From the 9th, from
Madam
Kyle?
Chair, I've muted Mr. Kennedy. I would like to continue with my presentation, if that's okay. Jason, you're still on the call. I'll unmute you in a moment. We will handle this in an orderly fashion tonight.
Yes,
All
please.
discussion will happen through the chair. Sorry that took me a moment to find the mute button. Hopefully next time I'll be a little quicker on that. Okay, so all that said, I did draft an agent report for the commission. Some of these things may or may not have been further addressed by the applicant. When I went out to the site, there were kind of 3 things that I noted to be problematic. One was that there was clear sign of a so let me just take a step back. As part of this order of conditions for the roadway extension, there was a buffer zone restoration in the area that has been planted. Brad Holmes of ECR went out there and he provided a report for the commission. The plantings have been installed. They look great. The order of conditions there are 2 order of conditions that are kind of associated with this project generally. One order of conditions is for the roadway extension. The other order of conditions is for the Lot 2 development. The order of conditions that this request for a certificate of compliance has been submitted for is for the roadway extension. And the order of conditions for the roadway extension only requires that that buffer zone restoration be planted, not that it be monitored or anything. The monitoring for that buffer zone restoration area is language for that monitoring is included in the Lot 2 order of conditions. Okay, so as far as this request is concerned, only the buffer zone area only had to be planted, and that is done, and it looks good. In addition to the plantings that have been put out there, they've done some seeding, and they've raked some of the soil and spread things out so it's nice and level. And that seeding has been put down, but it's not germinated because it's so late in the year. When I was out on the site, I did note that there were some areas that had been seeded, and then there are some photos that were included in my agent report that shows that there was erosion there that has occurred after the plantings. Again, that they may or may not have addressed this since then. But
Could you show those photos? Were you going to?
yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I'll circle around there. there are a few other things that I'd like to mention before, because I've got photos for all these. We had the as-built out before, and I guess I can share that now. I'll start with the as-built, Madam Chair, then I'll go and do the photos of the site. So this is the area that's kind of in gray here is the buffer zone restoration area that's been planted. There is a sidewalk that's been installed around the perimeter of the cul-de-sac, and then there's kind of a grassed not a walkway. There's a grassed area between the sidewalk and the granite curbing that's been installed around the cul-de-sac as well. That area that's between the sidewalk and the granite curbing is just bare dirt. Now it's been seeded, but it's obviously the grass isn't growing this time of year. I'll show some photos in a moment, but on the as-built, you can see that there's this area that's been this is the stone. This is the same area that, or the same material that was included here as kind of an erosion control measure for it's called kind of a construction entrance where the heavy machinery can drive in and off of the site without tracking excess dirt onto the finished roadway. So they have one for lot 2 over here, lot 1 over here, and they've used the same material over here, presumably to halt some of the erosion that was taking place that was required that they address with the issuance of the enforcement order that we've been dealing with last year. I will go ahead and show some photos now of the site. And again, this is from my site visit on the 9th. This is the construction entrance here. The granite curbing ends here. All this area is just stone. I don't know that there was any seating that has been happened here, but the limit of work is the silt sock erosion control that kind of ends down over here. But this is the that stone material that they've added here. Again, this is all on a hill, and so before they finished with the curbing installation and the installation of that sidewalk, all this was just dirt over here on the side, and it was just running down Arthur Street. So I imagine this rock stone was put here to help to halt some of that rampant erosion. And for the most part, I think that well, not for the most part, I think sediment transport down Arthur Street looks to have stopped, which is what the goal of the erosion or the enforcement order was. So that's all well and good there. I'm just going to flip through some more photos here. So this area that's in the construction fenced area, that's the buffer zone restoration. And then this is one of the photos that I included in my agent report. And you can see here, this is the sidewalk here in the middle. To the left is that grassed area, or it's been seeded, I think. But it was just a dirt area. But you can see that there's erosion here. And again, this is on the 9th. I'm not saying it's still happening now, but it's very clear that there was erosion happening on this side of the sidewalk. The other thing that I noted too is there's all this mulch over here to the right side of the sidewalk. And I think, again, that was used to temporarily address all of the erosion that was happening as things were moving down. And Jason, you'll have your moment here. I'll let you speak in a second. In my agent report, I just wanted to have the commission have a discussion with the applicants about what the nature of this mulch area is here and that stone down there, because neither of those were included on the plan of record. If the intention is that those are permanent features, that can be something that we discuss tonight. The efficacy of mulching this area permanently is potentially questionable. I've got concerns about that, but we can talk to the applicant about that. In general, and ultimately, my report, the initial recommendation was to not grant this request for certificate of compliance because the site hasn't been permanently stabilized, which is the verbiage that's used in the order of conditions. This is just a bad time of year to be trying to stabilize a site because it's the middle of winter, and generally you stabilize things permanently with substantial vegetative growth, and things aren't growing in December. So ultimately, I'd like to see some grass growing here. if at a minimum before the commission issues the certificate of compliance. But that's kind of what my report reviewed. At this point, I know that the applicants have submitted additional materials at the 11th hour that I haven't been able to go out to the site and look at things. So I don't really know how things stand currently. But at a minimum, I think the commission should have a discussion with the applicants about this mulch, if this mulch is intended to be there forever, or if this is going to be planted to grass later, or what the intention is of this mulched area. And ultimately, the commission and the applicants are going to need to come to an agreement on what is deemed permanently stabilized, and what if the commission's comfortable with the addition of the stone and or the mulch as permanent features. That's something that we can kind of address in the request for certificate of compliance, as well as like a modification to the approved order of conditions. That's all that I've got for now, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kennedy.
Yes. I think Andrew wants to say a few things, if that's okay, Madam Chair.
Of course, thank you.
I just want to, I guess, kind of review how we got here and why this is being presented like it was a last minute thing. Well, first off, the permanently stabilized. If I could get a definition of that, I guess that would be quite helpful, because if, as was stated by the your agent, there is no more seen siltation flowing down Arthur Street. So I would say, our intent was to leave this mulched area as well as the stoned area as permanent. It's effective. It's a pretty common practice to have stone or to have a mulched area, especially in front of a planted garden with a path.
How deep is that mulch, sir? How deep is the mulch?
Just a few inches on top of the topsoil.
And it's topsoil under that?
Yes, ma'am. And so that was our initial knee-jerk reaction. It was unfortunate that we got this the notice from Kyle at the talk about the 11th hour. It was late in the day before he was going away for 2 weeks. So we weren't able to speak to him or to work with him to address any of the concerns in the letter. So what we have done in the meantime to try to address his concern about the runoff or the erosion on that grass strip on Arthur Street is add a layer of erosion control blanket around the entire perimeter of that 5-foot strip of grass. It is planted. It is obviously it's dormant because of this time of year. However, this erosion matting will prevent any potential erosion and allow the grass to come up through it. It's completely biodegradable and will just disappear as that grass strip gets maintained and mowed. And I would like to point out that in the order of conditions, as well as in Brad Holmes' letter, it does state that if I could just pull it up real quick, sorry, that the restoration area will be maintained and monitored as a condition of the order of conditions. That's certainly the case, especially a grass strip along the side of a road. I mean, it's not going to just be ignored now that it's done.
I'm sorry, I believe the restoration area is that area that you have fenced in. Isn't that the restoration area?
Well, that is the restoration area. I mean, well, I guess you'd have to define the restoration area, because this part of the roadway was not an existing roadway, and now it's being restored to be within the buffer zone. I mean, I guess the end of the day, the bottom line is this little bit of grass strip is going to be maintained clearly.
Yes. Do you have photos to show that the matting that you put down?
Yes, ma'am. Jay, I believe, submitted some in the pictures. And I don't know if he's able to pull them up, or if Kyle. let's see. I have two computers going on here, and I'm having a hard time.
You know,
Jay,
this
are
is
you
the
able to
difficult
pull
thing with,
those
this
photos
is,
up?
that's what makes it hard when they're entered late. You know, it's difficult to get
Well,
access.
to be honest, ma'am, I mean, we got it late. We were trying to work through our council with the town's council or city's attorneys to try to best remedy the situation. That was one of the after those two attorneys spoke, this was how it kind of worked out, and it wasn't certainly intended to be a last minute thing. It just was the whole process. Now, if we had gotten this notice a few days prior to Kyle going away, we could have had a discussion. But unfortunately, we did not have that opportunity. So I'm not exactly sure how to pull those photos up. Jay, do you have them?
I have them in my photos. I'm not sure how I can upload them to Kyle. And which are all submitted to Kyle and the entire commission.
Yeah, let me see if I can
yesterday.
pull up that email. If you could just bear with me for just a second, I certainly can find it. I don't do a lot of Zoom meetings, as you probably have noticed.
I do have to say, after having been out to that site initially, that the curbing and the sides of the road certainly look much cleaner. It looks much neater. It's certainly, and the restoration area that's all planted, I think it's going to be really nice. As you said, instead of a drug infested area where kids hung around, I think it's going to be a really nice neighborhood. And certainly, sir, you know, are appreciated for that. But at the same time,
I agree, and I think maybe some of boy, I'm really lost here. I have the pictures up in another window, but I'm not sure how to share that screen. That's not working. So I guess one of the things I would like to point out is some of these areas that Kyle is pointing, that is discussing is slightly outside kind of where we have been working, though we have cleaned those areas up so they are disturbed to a degree. I mean, we've been taking we took TVs out of there. We took
no, we understand.
I mean, we've got there's something to be said for that. Can you see that? Did that come? Did I do that right?
Yes.
Wow.
So that's the soil area that looked like there was a little river kind of along one edge of it. It looked
Yes,
like
ma'am. And those are mats that get that they're woven with hemp and pinned to the ground so that it stabilizes any further erosion. You see them a lot in areas of steep off grading on sites, while they're waiting for the grass to come in. So we thought that might be an appropriate answer to that concern that Kyle had.
Mm-hmm. And that extends around the entire cul-de-sac?
Yes, ma'am. It goes around, certainly past 100. Jay could speak to more than that. But okay, so it does go around the entire cul-de-sac. I know that it is not easy to find in January, so we were struggling to get enough to go as far as we did. And another piece I'd like to point out is, we're trying to close this order in an effort to move forward with other particular items, but we still are in front of you for a lot too. This is not like a one and done. You'll never see us again. We will certainly continue to have to work together to finish developing this property. And a lot of the concerns are on, or a lot of the things that were discussed are encompassed in part a lot too, which Kyle's already addressed.
Is there any particular reason why you can't wait until springtime and things have seeded in? I just was wondering why this COC, why you wanted to have this complete certificate of compliance issued now, because it doesn't prevent you from continuing on with your project, correct?
Well, it does to a degree. I mean, there's a financing piece of this as well, that this not having this order issued will make moving forward on our end difficult. And we'd like to close this so that we can move forward with working on the lots. Funding wise, is one of the reasons. The other is we really just would like to have this behind us. So there's twofold.
Commissioners, any questions?
I did go over the email. I only read one of the letters, I think the signed letters, and was looking at the photos and comparing to what we had in the agent report. The question I had was just, I guess for us, is what is the approximate time for the stabilizing of the soil? I don't think we've ever talked about that in the past. Maybe we have, but what would be the time frame?
Well, of course, every year is different. I mean, we got hit with a pretty bad cold snap here for a few weeks. However, in order to get that seed to germinate, you got to be 60 degrees during the day with some sunshine. That sometimes that's March, sometimes that's April. Sometimes you're not into June, so there could be. I'm hoping March for my own sanity, but you never know.
One other question that I did have, if you're saying that the mulch or wood chips or whatever they are is going to be a permanent solution. I know that even along my driveway, I have to constantly renew that. Otherwise it just from sun, it just breaks down and eventually it will, degrade. So I'm not sure. Is mulch considered permanent stabilization? I
think that's subjective. I feel it is. Again, we had already touched on the maintenance portion of this. You're gonna have homeowners here. You're gonna have at least two or you'll have two residents that will be living at the end of this road. And again, keep in mind, this is just really two lots. This is quite a bit of work for two lots, which, in hindsight, it's not really a discussion for here, but in hindsight, I don't know if that made a lot of sense on our end. However, someone will be looking after this part of their property in perpetuity.
Kyle, you have your hand raised, and Lily, then Lily.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, that was your concern that you just brought up about the mulch was a concern that I share. So, the mulch has been effective in stopping that sediment transport down Arthur Street. But what's the longevity of that? And as you said, just mulch in our homes that we've all dealt with over the years, you have to refresh that every couple of years at minimum. My concern is that there's this isn't part of Lot 2. This isn't part of anyone's actual property. Where that mulch would be. So my concern is who's going to maintain that, and how does the commission ensure that area doesn't just that mulch doesn't degrade over time, and then just become more or less native substrate soil that is subject to erosion. And we've seen with the slopes here how easy it is for that sediment just to get picked up and get transported down and wash its way into the drains on Arthur Street, and it does damage to people's properties down the line too. If there's a lot of the water flow does, not necessarily the sediment, but my concern is that mulch isn't going to hold up over time. So I would just encourage the commission. The commission should decide if they think that mulch is something that the commission deems to be permanent, or if you would like to see a different solution to be implemented there. And the applicants should get that guidance tonight so they can make that change if necessary. Thank you.
And
I'm sorry. Can I just speak to that real quick? Kyle, that is not correct. That the mulch is on Lot 2. That, as well as that restoration area, that is all a part of Lot 2. If you look at this,
thank you.
If the lot that lot starts right at the back edge of the sidewalk. So if you look at the picture that's up, if the snow were off the sidewalk, lot 2 starts at the very back of that asphalt. So that is a part of someone's property that they would be looking after. And then I guess my question to you would be, if any home is built within the 100-foot buffer and they have mulched beds, what would the difference be if they had a home with plantings and mulch in their yard? I mean, really, it's a subjective. It's subjective, is what I'd like to point out.
Kyle, did you want to respond to that?
Oh yeah, I've just got a question. Thank you, Andrew. I didn't recognize.
All
I didn't realize that that was part of the lot too. Have you gotten the definitive subdivision, or is that something that you're waiting to do with planning board yet?
We have not gotten the lots released. This is one of the pieces of that puzzle. However, we are on the planning. We're scheduled to be on with planning next week for the release of the 2 lots. So lot 1 and lot 2 are created. They've been, they've been created. They're just not released to be built upon.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So I guess thank you for clarifying that. I didn't realize that mulch area that we've been discussing is part of that lot too. If this is an option that the commission could entertain with the, with the other order of conditions for lot 2, there could be, the order of conditions is already issued, but if the commission is willing to allow that mulch to remain, there might be something we can do and have that kind of tied up with the order of conditions for lot 2, rather than this, the roadway extension. So that's just kind of throwing that out there. I'm not exactly sure how that would work since the order of conditions already has been issued, but there might be a way that we could incorporate some language that homeowner would be responsible for maintaining that mulch way in perpetuity, but that might require an amended order of conditions to get that language included in the order, because the order has already been issued by the commission. So just something to consider moving forward.
Okay.
Would you be able to condition that at the issuance of the certificate of compliance for lot 2?
I don't think you can add additional language that's not already included in the order when you issue a certificate of compliance, and that's the issue, right?
Oh, Lily, you've been very patient.
Oh, I'm getting cold, honestly, just looking at this picture. I know it's sitting by my window. Actually, Kyle, if you could go to the picture that you had from the 9th, just because there's no snow covering the wood chips mulch. Also, I will say we used wood chips for something at work, and like a year later doing Brockton Beautiful, we had to replace all the wood chips because they get damp and trodden on. And if it's part of someone's property, it might get trodden on if they have kids or something playing. So wood chips are a bit, I don't know. But so the red barrier, which is to help protect that buffer restoration zone, correct?
Yes, correct.
And so that delineates like where the end of that buffer restoration zone is where that red is, and then there's that space between the buffer zone and where the paved sidewalk is.
Not necessarily. So that fence was put up simply to protect the plants from being damaged by wildlife or anyone that, I mean, we've had some vandalism up there, to be honest with you. We've had some people up there. Well, we have not been on site, so we put that up really as a deterrent. It's close to the 25-foot no touch line. However, it doesn't follow it exactly.
But so on the as-built plan, the shaded area where the buffer restoration area was, it looks like, well, maybe I'm just not reading right. It looks like it goes up to the paved sidewalk, or could you bring up the as-built plan, please, now that we've seen this?
Yes, actually, I have it up on a different screen. You're correct. It does show that buffer zone restoration area up to the back of that sidewalk.
So I guess my question is, if say that like red fencing is kind of helping to protect the buffer zone area, why is that area that's under the mulch, was that not actually part of the buffer zone area now? Or, like,
If
what
you
happened
look-
here? Why is there space between the sidewalk and the zone?
So if you look at the proposed restoration area from Brad Holmes from ECR, it actually really just follows that 25 foot. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's the 50 foot. I apologize. The 25 to 50 foot area, it follows that line. We just extended it a little bit further to the back of the sidewalk as part of the cleanup effort.
So in reality, the zone does go up all the way to, or it just goes up to where that like area. I guess what I'm trying to like figure out that in real life versus on the as built, because there's clearly that space where the mulch is. So I guess one thing would be to fix that a bit just so we can see there's a that definitive space where there's no restoration. I guess
Well,
like
I think I mean it doesn't denote material type on the as built. I mean, it certainly has been restored all the way to the back of the sidewalk. And it doesn't show, for instance, we put the wood chip mulch around all of the plantings to help protect them. I mean, it doesn't show that on the as built either. It's more of that's the general, that is the area that was restored and corrected, and it does carry up to the back of the sidewalk.
so in the as built, there's some little symbols that are denoting like the bayberry and the different shrubs used that goes all the way up to the sidewalk. But because there's that mulch there, I am gonna assume there's not really gonna be any growth of those shrubs right where that mulch is. So I guess there is to me like a bit of a difference between using the mulch as, this erosion control versus where there's, shrubbery and green vegetation where we're assuming it's going to go in the spring, summer once it gets warm.
I'm confused by that statement. I don't know if you look at the photos of the planted area, it's not in that mulch strip. That mulch, we have some around the root balls, which is customary for new plantings to have some sort of ground cover mulch to protect the roots, and also to hold moisture so that the plants could grow. That's around each tree in a circumference of maybe 2 feet or so. But there's in this strip that we're talking about, this 5 foot strip of wood chips, there's none of the plantings there. They follow the proposed restoration area planting schematic that ECR provided.
Yeah, and I just saying on the as built though that isn't as reflected that there's that strip of mulch wood chips. And I guess just something important for us for if, that is part of the lot too. That's I guess something to yeah.
Later. Yeah. Kyle, I do have a quick question. Can you explain what it fully complies with an executed release agreement? Does that have to do with the original?
So the commission issued an enforcement order
Right.
last year for that sediment, is mainly for that sediment transport down to Arthur Street. There were some other issues that were brought up and that were a part of that enforcement order.
Right.
The executive release agreement was what the council of the applicant and the city of Brockton agreed upon, and all, I signed on behalf of the commission, and Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Spath both signed representing this development, and that was basically an agreement between both parties of what work should be done to remedy all of the issues raised in that enforcement order, and all of that, with the exception of one thing. And I think I don't know, Jason or Andrew. I'm not sure if you guys have done this yet, but I spoke to the city's attorney today, who talked to your attorney and had mentioned that you had been planning on moving that sign. But the only thing and this is a small detail, this is not something that would warrant any sort of enforcement action on its own, but it was just kind of tacked on with the other thing, with all the other issues, but was the DEP file number sign. We agreed in the executive release agreement to move that up near the where the DEP file number signed for. Sorry, let me say that again. The DEP file number signed for lot 2. We agreed that that should be moved all the way up by so it was visible by the road where the sign for the roadway extension DEP file number sign is. Again, small detail, but that was technically something that was included in the executive release agreement that hadn't been addressed when I was out on the site on the 9th. I'm not sure if they've done anything with that since then.
The sign was moved, and photos were sent. I can see if I can do that. There we go.
Is that part of the package that was sent on the 28th?
Yes, ma'am. See if I can share the screen again. There we go. I'm pro now.
Yeah.
So this sign is down now. Let's see, it's way down on Arthur Street near that DMH drain manhole where Ridge crosses. It's like at the beginning of where Ridge crosses. So that was the location that Kyle wanted the sign for lot 2. We had it up on lot 2 near where the home was going to be constructed.
Okay. Were there any specific? Oh, Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to try to refocus kind of the discussion on a couple of the things that the commission needs to make a decision upon tonight before we can move forward with any actionable item for the commission. So before issuance of the certificate of compliance, the commission should decide if they think that mulch is going to constitute permanent stabilization. If not, the commission should offer guidance on what they would like to see there instead of the mulch. And then secondly, before the issuance of a certificate of compliance, the order of conditions for this roadway extension requires the area to be permanently stabilized. So the commission then also needs to determine if they think all the areas have been permanently stabilized before the issuance of the certificate of compliance.
I'm sorry, Kyle, could you back up for a second and say exactly what areas have to be stabilized? Because this is just for the roadway, correct?
Yeah, for the roadway extension. This is kind of dicey because the submitted plans for the roadway extension and lot 2 are basically the same plans. There are some slight variations between the two, but there's a lot of overlap. So it's hard to necessarily say this is definitively the roadway extension. This is definitively lot 2. What I would like to see is all the area that's between the installed sidewalk and the curbing that's already installed to be stabilized all the way around the site. Obviously, lot 1 and lot 2 will be under construction. They're going to put homes there. It would be unreasonable to require those to be fully stabilized before we release or we issue the certificate of compliance for the roadway extension. The excuse me, the restoration area, which we can at this point kind of define as the area that's within that construction fenced area, that's all. The monitoring for that is under the lot 2 order of conditions. So as long as that's been planted, and it has been planted, that's more or less kind of not part of this discussion tonight. It's really that area that's within between that sidewalk and the curbing, and then there's a lot more area that's kind of within jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, within that 25-foot, 50-foot, 100-foot to the buffer to the wetland that's on the north side of the site. which encompasses that mulched area that we've been discussing, and that area with the stone at the base of the sidewalk, and then potentially that area that was near the construction fence that we saw in a couple of those photos earlier. If the commission would like to see that seeded to something that might be appropriate. But all this should be discussed and given, so that the applicants know what they need to do to come back to the commission and to receive their certificate of compliance.
Ms. Green?
Hello, back to the mulch area. Could you please bring up the as-built plan again? Yes, zoom in as much as possible, thank you. Whatever we decide for the mulch area, I think it's important for the as-built plan, whether it's for, it's basically the same plan, the extension and the lot to have it reflected whatever we decide, whether it's to keep it as mulch. So you said it's kind of around the 50 buffer zone, which I'm guessing is that yellow dotted dashed line.
Yeah,
that kind
the
of
yellow
curves,
line, that's
but-
correct.
50,
Yep, and then it goes, they said a bit beyond that, I guess, just to get kind of a accurate looking visual of it, because how it's shown right now, if someone was to look at it, they would assume there should be shrubs there, and then when they look and see it's just mulch, that might cause a problem in the future, maybe. But just so whether or not we keep it as like wood chip mulch, or if we decide we want to see, I don't know, sod grass or something, I'm not really sure what other options there are that get brought up. But I think it would just be important because right now it just isn't distinguished as it being different from that red netting fence.
Yeah. So the temporary construction fence does go around part of that, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, so this is wait, hold on, can I annotate on here? No. Okay. So where the 50-foot buffer zone is,
Yes.
and maybe I guess what they said a bit extended beyond that, where the like buffer restoration is, in reality doesn't go all the way up to where the sidewalk is labeled. And that area right now on the map is showing that, it does go up there, but that's not really accurate because right now it's just, that strip of wood chips that's acting as like an erosion protection kind of thing. So I'm just saying at some point what we decide, whether we keep it as mulch or if we decide we want something else, it should be distinguished as that. That way it's accurate to the plan. And so, when we do lot 2, if in the future something gets brought up or someone, wants to do work on the lot in the future, homeowners, they have, the accurate of what it should look like. Because right now you would assume there should be shrubs there, and with there not being shrubs, with it being mulch, maybe, different commission members will think, oh, they, went and then cut down shrubs and stuff and then, charge them with a violation or something.
Kyle, is it typical to actually have the what the substance is that's within those zones? Is it typical of having those on the as-built?
Well,
Or
I
just
mean,
showing that that's not part of the buffer, because it looks like it's just part of the restoration plan.
yeah, I think that the problem that we're kind of talking around here is that the as-built doesn't accurately represent the ground conditions as far as the installation of that mulch strip. That's not included on here, and it shows that that's actually part of the buffer zone restoration, when in reality the buffer zone restoration doesn't extend that close to the sidewalk, and so that's the issue here. That could be, I mean, a plan could, a potential modification to this plan could include that mulch strip. That wouldn't be a problem if but it's whether the commission, wants to have the as-built include that mulch strip. If the commission is even wanting that mulch strip to be the permanent feature, and we haven't determined that yet either. So I would recommend that the commission decide if they think that mulch area in perpetuity will constitute a permanently stabilized area, or if you want that to be have some other sort of treatment. And then down the line we can, if the commission decides not to grant the certificate of compliance tonight, based upon any of these things that we've been discussing, when they come back, they could modify the as-built to accurately represent that area, because currently it's not representing the ground truth of that portion of the site.
Mr. Kennedy, is that your hand raised?
I just wanted to comment. that first of all, we didn't put that there as an erosion control. I just thought it would look nice, and it's not mulch, which I stated in that letter. It's actually wood chips, which is a 100% natural product. So the idea was there was a space between the buffer zone and the sidewalk, and it looked unfinished. So I thought, let's put in something natural there, wood chips, which is perfectly legal to put in any resource area. It's what happens when you cut down a tree. And it also does happen to stabilize it, which we didn't have erosion, but it looks nice having that there. So I don't know what else would be suggested, but I did it as an extra step, just like we did the construction fence around the buffer zone restoration area is an extra step just to protect it. So I don't think there's any issue with this. Never mind in the agent's report, there was zero runoff of the wood chips. So I don't see why that would be considered an issue. And just like Andrew mentioned, any project you approve within 100, those projects have mulch beds, and I'm sure there's no requirement for those to be not a mulch bed, or some other product. So I just did it as an extra step, and I thought it was a benefit to the site. So just to be clear, I know we're talking about this for 45 minutes, but
No,
I
we
just
need
thought it
to
was the
finish up.
right step. So
We need to finish up. Is there any particular reason why that couldn't be seeded with some more of your mat stuff
Over the wood chips,
or near the wood chips, where the wood chips are?
like just to put it over the wood chips, you're saying?
I don't know about over. I don't think a seed would grow. Hold on, please. Kyle and then Peggy.
You can finish your thought, Madam Chair. I just wanted
Oh,
to talk.
I not over wood chips. I would never seed over wood chips because I don't think that they would. I don't think there'd be enough.
Yeah, just in response to Mr. Kennedy's statement, the concern I think is long term down the line, once those wood chips start to degrade, because as you said, they're a natural product and they will degrade over time. What's this going to look like? How can the commission be sure that 5 years down the line, we're not going to have rampant erosion through there? And I think the long-term solution, and again, this term we keep batting around, permanently stabilized, is to have something growing there. Plant it, some sort of seed mix. It can be grass, it could be mowed, it could be a wildlife conservation mix. But I think that is having something growing there will serve to keep that area stable forever rather than just until the life cycle of that wood chip. Um, the concern is like who's going to be responsible for changing that down the line, and I don't know how the commission could necessarily enforce that. So that's all I've got to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Curtis.
I wanted to state that I thought that from Kyle's pictures on the 9th to the pictures that we reviewed from Kennedy, Jason Kennedy, they look, the straw mix that was laid over the portions that were eroding, I believe that fulfills the requirement for the stabilization of that portion of the road because there was obvious erosion and there was effort made to control that. And I wanted to ask Kyle, is that agreeable to you that that is stabilized with the material that's been laid down there? You're muted. I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Stabilized, but not permanently stabilized. I encourage the commission to.
Well, didn't he state that there is loam underneath? And I believe in the two letters that we got from the engineer and from somebody else, I can't remember, they both stated that it's been seeded and that it's underneath that the straw. I'm not sure what the correct term is, but
The straw netting
use
serves to
straw.
kind of stabilize that area. That will, if there's rain that comes down, that will slow the rain droplets and that will slow the erosion of any subsurface area underneath that's just bare dirt.
Mhm.
but the grass hasn't done anything. It was already seeded. I believe, and Andrew or Jason, you may correct me here. What you've done is the area around there was already seeded, and you came and you put that straw mesh netting around on top of that. Is that a correct description of the activity that you've done?
Correct. It will stabilize it until the dormant seed germinates and grows through, and the netting or the matting degrades.
Yes.
Now,
again.
have you hired a landscaper or lawn company to come and reseed that and and um and take care of that?
Well,
Is that part of your responsibilities as the developer?
um, not at this particular point. Obviously, we'll be at the site doing some of our own work on the homes. Though, this just becomes a grass strip that you would see in any neighborhood where typically the homeowner would maintain the grass strip that's in front of their property, regardless of if it's theirs or not, right? I mean, I certainly I grew
And
up in a house that had a
part
grass
of
strip, and I
the
remember
sale agreement is an agreement made with the owner that this is protected areas that needed to be seeded and maintained.
well, it's as part of that order of conditions that there would be an ongoing maintenance, um, an ongoing maintenance.
All right, so the homeowner will be aware. So that means your responsibility after the home is sold is no longer your responsibility. It's the responsibility of the homeowner. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, okay. So the issue that I have with the mulch area is that usually when you mulch, you usually lay down some black netting or matting or something so that the weeds and things don't come up through it. Um, and I understand that it does deteriorate over time. Now, Kyle's issue is that it's not permanently stabilized. And is that also part of the homeowner's agreement to stabilize that area once the mulch gets deteriorated, or is there something that you can do at this point, like plant maybe, I don't know. I mean, you can't plant bulbs or grass right now, but the
Yeah,
homeowner may change that because it's their land at that point, right? They may want to put something else down there. Is that correct?
that's correct. That is part of lot two. And if I would be able to share my screen again, I can't do it with Kyle's up there. I just wanted to point something out here. So this is the property across from where that wetlands line comes closest to Arthur Street. And if you'll notice in front of their house, they have a few shrubs with some mulch. They're clearly, by our own plans, within the 50 to 100, and it doesn't. It's on the same grade. It's on the hill of Arthur Street. I think we've kind of got caught up in the minutia of this the mulch, and it seems to be that maybe this was not what the commission had expected, so it's caught them by surprise, though.
And with short notice as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, if I could say that we it was only short notice because we got short notice, and everything kind of rolled downhill. We didn't anticipate by any means that we would be talking about wood chips for 45 minutes.
I would wait.
But here we are. Here we are.
We really
So
do need to move on. So, commissioners,
I guess the bottom line is, what would to get an approval tonight, what would make the commission, or what would make them comfortable with an approval tonight, knowing that we still have lot two, and the majority of this stuff that we're discussing is part of that parcel.
I personally do not consider wood chips as a permanent solution to erosion control.
Would gravel be possible?
Something
with the
planted.
elimination of the wood chips and replacing it with
Anything that-
gravel?
I think anything that can erode is not a, you know, a good, it's not a good choice. Something planted certainly would be a better choice.
So when we construct the home on lot 2, they're not allowed to have mulch beds?
This is only along the drive. This is along the road, correct? We're talking about the
No, we're
section
up.
that's directly along the road. The part that was eroding down Arthur Street, isn't that was the issue is? Well,
No. I think maybe you're slightly confused. The strip between the sidewalk and the curbing, there's a 4-foot wide strip, I believe.
right. And it
That
goes,
is zoomed and seeded, and that was the piece that Kyle had taken a photo of that had just a slight,
yes,
like I call it a rivulet.
it's on
right?
the
And
other
that-
side. It's closer to the restoration zone, right? It's on the other side of the walkway. The
It
one-
is closest, it's against the roadway. It's between the curbing and the sidewalk.
That's where the seed is right
That's
now.
where the seed is, with
And that's where you put the
this
mesh stuff.
biodegradable mesh on it.
Right,
Now, the
right.
mulch that we're discussing is on the opposite side,
Which is closer to the resource area, correct?
which is within the 50 to 100.
Right,
Correct.
right. Which could eventually, that's what I'm saying, that eventually could, I think, degrade and wash away, and then you would have back to erosion. The whole point is to avoid erosion, right? That's the whole reason for all of this
Oh,
stuff.
I don't disagree, but it becomes part of property maintenance. The same way when we put a house between the 50 and 100 on lot 2, they're going to have mulch beds, and it's going to be in the same zone of the 50 to 100 as this strip of wood chips that we're discussing, and the homeowner will maintain that. That is part of the order of conditions.
Mr. Talbot, your hand is up. Thank you. We really do need to move on.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I agree. If we're just going to talk about the part where the erosion was happening, we can continue to that. We don't have any vegetation growing yet. We can continue this to next meeting next month, and maybe there'll be warmer climate at the end of February, and we'll see growth.
We certainly could wait a few months until there's actually been evidence of germination as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's mulch. I agree with Mr. Spaeth and Mr. Kennedy that if that's somebody's property, that's somebody's property. Granted, if it's 50 feet long, they're going to be putting 7-8 yards of mulch every year. It's never going to happen, right? It's just going to grow in weeds and whatever. It's fine. But there's no vegetation right now growing. We've been talking about this for almost an hour. So I don't know if I can make a motion to continue to next month meeting and see if we have growth.
Chances of having growth in 3 weeks is probably pretty slim.
Has that previously been established as a condition for orders of condition in the past by this commission?
Regularly. We did it last night.
As far as established, what's the terminology, Kyle? I don't remember right off the top of my head.
Permanently stabilized. We denied the Main Street certificate of compliance last night for the exact same thing.
Would loam be considered a permanent stabilization at this point? Loam?
That just means they put seed down, Peggy. So the seeds, it's been seeded, but it hasn't germinated.
Sod. If they put sod down there, would that be considered permanent?
It's up to the commission, but the commission gave that guidance to the applicant last night, and the commission has allowed sod to be installed in other. I'm thinking the development on Pleasant Street that we approved last year. They put sod in and got the certificate of compliance at the very end of the year after the kind of the growing season. So that's something the commission's done in the past.
So that might be something that Mr. Spaeth and Mr. Kennedy could consider instead of wood chips, putting in sod.
Mr.
Yeah,
Kennedy,
they won't cut
We
sod.
need to give them something to consider. If we continue this till the next month without giving any solutions or resolutions, then it's just going to be another 45 minutes talking about wood chips. So let's give them something that they can work with, that they could do by next month. I mean, if it's gravel, if it's sod, if it's something that's permanent.
Could I suggest that they won't cut sod until it's warm enough? So sod is not really an option in the winter, especially with the frozen ground.
Mm-hmm. So gravel? Any objections to gravel?
Kyle? I defer, but
I would like to see vegetative growth there rather than gravel, but that's just me. I'm not a member of the commission. Ultimately, this is going to be a.
Well, we're trying to help them move on to the next, do you know what I'm saying?
well,
So,
we can request vegetated growth and just have to hold the complete certificate of compliance until germination has occurred, until there's been stabilization that's visible. That would be an option. Lily, your hand. And
Well,
then Mr.
so
Kennedy.
the wood chip area is part of lot 2, which they're not getting a certificate for yet because they're still doing the work on lot 2. But the extension part, which is the part with the seed and then the
Erosion
it's been a
control.
long night, the netting thing.
the
That
netting, okay.
I guess the question would we consider that as stabilized, which again, it's a bad time of the year because it is cold and stuff. So that's I feel like the question is for the certificate of compliance is really that netting area because the wood chips is part of lot 2, it sounds like. So we can still hash that out because lot 2 is still under development. I feel like it's this extension part with the seeding and
That
the
is
netting.
correct. We're simply asking for the order for the roadway to be for certificate of compliance. The majority of the areas we're talking about are still on lot 2 and still will have considerable work to be done.
Mr. Kennedy, your hand is up.
Yes, I just want to state that there is no wood chip eroding. So you're talking about permanent stabilization. Technically, it is stabilized right now because there is nothing eroding.
There hasn't
So
been
I
much.
don't see that, but the only spot that was eroding is where that tiny little picture that Kyle took, in which we addressed, by running 300 feet of the erosion control blanket, what we've referred to as netting, around the entire cul-de-sac. However, none of the wood chip is running or eroding. Secondly, is in the spring, weeds can grow through that, or the buffer zone mix can grow through that, and that'll stabilize it. Just like if you have a mulch bed in your own house and you don't weed it, it overgrows with weeds. So it is stabilized. And we're not asking for a continuance. We're asking for an approval. I feel like we've fulfilled our requirements. There is no problem with this site as it stands today. Look at how improved it is. Why does the commission want to hold this up? I don't understand. It's everything. Go up there. It looks beautiful. And you have control over it on lot 2 order of conditions. Look at it, it's wasting all this time. Never mind all the legal time too. Take anybody from the town up there and they will be impressed with how it looks. And talking about wood chips for an hour of the town's time is not reasonable. I feel like we have a stabilized site.
Lily?
I mean, it is lot 2. I assume I don't know why I assume. What is your estimate for if we did a certificate of compliance, like the work on lot 2, how long do you think that will take? Because, by the time they apply for a certificate of compliance, the season will continue. We can see if there is growth in the next couple of months as they work on lot 2, and then before they get a certificate of compliance for lot 2, that wood chip area is part of it. We can address it then if it isn't stabilized, if rain in April or whatever moves the wood chips then.
You certainly wouldn't. I mean, we're still on for planning for next week. We don't know how that will go. Whole process for these 2 lots has been a challenge, and it has been on the planning side as well. So, assuming that lot 2 is released on Tuesday, there's still 30 to 60 days of building permits, that sort of thing. You start take 8 months or so. You'd certainly see it. We'd be working through a growing season, that's for certain.
Yeah, so it sounds like for the
wouldn't-
wood chip area. Like it sounds like from what I'm understanding for lot 2, if that's the wood chip area and they have all that work to do, it sounds like we still have time. We could leave it as wood chips and see how it is. If it hasn't moved, then maybe that is, like they're saying, is fine. I think right now for tonight we have to figure out that blanket area. It sounds like the wood chip that we've been discussing for an hour, we can continue discussing it for the next 8 months.
Yeah, you'll have certainly many other opportunities to look at it, to discuss
And
it.
maybe, it'll
See.
be warmer weather. If it does well, maybe they can do sod in 3-4 months if need be. But it sounds like we should just figure out if we want to
Agree.
You still have full
compliance
control
for
over
the,
that area.
yeah.
I
It sounds like we
agree.
want to figure out if the blanket that's been seeded, if we want to see growth, wait till it's warm, or if we think the seed in the blanket is what we want for stabilization. I feel like that's where the discussion should focus instead of another hour of wood chips.
Yes, I agree.
So commissioners, I just try to put my finger on the pulse here. Are you suggesting that the blanket over the seated area, you feel as though that would be considered permanently stabilized or not?
Yes.
Even though there's no growth, you consider it permanently stabilized?
Yes.
I mean, they're going to be in the area if they have to. It sounds like in the letter we can hold it to them and hope that if it's not, that they'll be seeding. I mean, they're right there. I'm sure it's easy to just buy a new mix and pour it if they're right there working on lots 1 and 2. But they have
Okay.
the blanket. It's been seeded. I would go with.
I just want to point out quickly, I don't mean to interrupt, but I mean, we're trying to present a finished product to a potential homeowner. We're
Yeah.
not looking to put a poorly looking product out there. I mean, if the grass doesn't come into our satisfaction, we certainly would be maintaining and overseeding.
Kyle, you have a question?
No, just a comment. I urge the commission to be consistent in their rulings. So just last night, we entertained a similar
Mhm.
request for certificate of compliance.
This is a different order of conditions.
Excuse me,
Kyle.
Jason.
This is different.
Okay. I'm just going to mute Mr. Kennedy here so he can.
You can't do that in a public meeting.
I can.
No, you can't.
Is the host if you're not following the rules of order?
So I urge the commission to be consistent in their rulings. Just last night, the commission voted to deny a request for certificate of compliance because the applicant hadn't sufficiently stabilized the area around those 2 retention basins. We talked about giving that applicant throwing him a bone and granting the certificate anyway, with the intention that he was going, or with the implication that he was going to do some more work and it was going to be stabilized down the line. And the commission decided that wasn't a method that they were looking to pursue. Like, I don't understand why we would be flip-flopping. I think it's important to be consistent with our rulings from case to case. So this was one about permanently stabilized. There's no vegetative growth. That's been the standard that the commission's been using before. If you think back 3 or 4 months in the fall, the commission denied a request for a month to allow for the Heritage Court lots for those homes, so those could be seeded and have some vegetative growth established. That's been the standard that the commission has been using. And I don't understand why we would be changing that now. And I think that sets a bad precedent moving forward. That's all I've got to say, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Very valid point.
Did the applicant last night have erosion control netting on the area they were trying to get approval upon?
No, they did not.
So then I guess we're talking apples to oranges, or maybe moving forward, this could be the new precedent.
But permanent stabilization is that's
Well,
the
how does one go about getting a certificate of compliance in New England when 4 months out of the year you're not getting any growth? I mean, there has to be a way to get to the end zone. And again, and I didn't watch last night's meeting, and I hope I'm not speaking out of school, but we still have an additional order of conditions that most of this work is still overseen by. So we're just asking to close this one order that we've done a substantial amount of work to try to meet your wishes.
Kyle?
Just a comment on the argument that this could be addressed under the second order of conditions. This set of two orders of conditions is extremely messy. They probably shouldn't have been approved the way that they are. There's so much overlap between these two. It's nearly impossible to determine what part of this is covered exclusively under the roadway extension versus the lot two. That's part of the issue that we've been discussing tonight. Well, is the mulch going to be covered under lot two, or is that part of the roadway extension? There's so much gray area and ambiguity here that if there's an issue down the line, it's very easy to argue, oh, no, that was what was approved under the roadway extension, not lot two, and you've already given us the request for certificate of compliance, therefore released us of all, responsibility to address this. That is a danger that the commission's opening themselves up for here. So just beware of that while there is this other order, there's so much overlap between these two. By issuing this certificate of compliance, you might not be able to do everything you think the commission's able to do with enforcement on all of this, because it's not clearly defined. There's so much overlap between these two. It's very, very confusing, and there's a lot of gray area.
Well, wouldn't I would suggest then that by narrowing it down to just simply the order of conditions for lot two would make your job quite a bit easier, because now you don't have the ambiguity. You have the overlapping regulations that you just spoke of now mandated in the open order of conditions for lot two. And not to mention, we just spoke about the length of time that it would take to construct lot two versus the time that germination would occur on this 4-foot grass strip that we're talking about. We would be back in front of you April or May, maybe. However, to close the order of conditions for lot two would be sometime around this year, next year. So regardless, that I don't feel that argument is warranted, because however you rule, you are still going to have that same situation. You're not going to close both orders of conditions at the same meeting.
I believe I've seen orders of conditions that have extended for 2 growing seasons.
Right, but this one is not that. But that's not how this regulation is. How this order of conditions is written.
Mhm.
Right. So again, going back to amending orders of conditions for mulch or what have you, you can't amend an order of conditions, or you can't add to 2 growing seasons just because.
I know, but I'm just saying that it's not uncommon to really want stabilization.
Right,
Well,
and it's not uncommon to approve a stabilized, a matting down for stabilization on a grass, on erosion control mats.
Okay, Lily?
There's a lot of legal stuff going on. I guess in terms of precedent, we have been speaking about that, and yes, this is a very messy order of conditions. I think probably before most of us were part of this current commission. So I feel like, going forward, we wouldn't have such a situation. But I think setting that precedent, and even though, yes, it has so much overlap, I think kind of approaching it as if, if it was 2 separate order of conditions. So if the roadway is separate, as we're saying, we have precedent that we have asked for vegetation. And yes, it's been seeded and has the net, but we don't see growth. And yes, I know it's New England and stuff, but that is how we have done it. So on that point, and yes, you guys, are trying to, sell the house and stuff, but in the future, if there's like another client that has 2 going on and, they might not be as responsible, but then they have the precedent, well, you let these people do it, and they may say they're responsible, and then we get to the point when they're not. So for, our powers, the Wetland Protection Act, and we have to keep the strength of that as best as we can. So we do have to start remembering, like, what we've done in the past with precedent. So that's, I guess, the new point I have.
And so, Lily, are you recommending anything in particular? Are you recommending that it be postponed until there is demonstration of growth?
I would say if we've used vegetation in the past, we should continue to say until there's proof of the growth of the vegetation.
Justin?
Well, that's on bare soil, right? We're talking kind of an apples and oranges thing here. We've gone above and beyond with an erosion control netting to prevent any erosion or washout on a project that we will still be on for the next year and a half, man. I mean, I'm asking I'm asking for the commission to work with us. I've asked in the past and it seemed to fall on deaf ears. I'm asking again if the commission could please work with us so that we could move forward with this development of simply two homes at the end of a former dilapidated water site.
What is it that prevents you from moving forward if we just wait for a couple of months for
We
order of conditions?
we are going to need for financial reasons, we need the roadway order conditions closed and the lots released. So we're here for that piece with you, and we have the next piece with planning next week.
So are you saying that you need a certificate of compliance in order to get the lots released from planning? Is that true?
No, that's not what I said. I'm saying for finance reasons, for being able to move forward and build the homes on our piece, as well as I'm not sure how planning will look at an unclosed order of conditions or not, something that's not. I mean, obviously, we had to do this work as part of their approval, right? So, are they going to say, well, your order of conditions for the roadway is not closed? How can we approve? How can we release the lots if the roadway order of conditions is not closed? I mean, it creates a bit of there's quite a bit of ambiguity there, and we're just trying to nail this down so that we can move forward. Is really all that it is, and we've had challenges with planning and turnover there, and miscommunication, and yada yada. So we're just trying to move forward.
And as a commission, we also need consistency as well.
Well, I agree, but I mean, have we not demonstrated a responsibility as the contractor to go above and beyond that to create a stable? We're talking about 4 feet of grass, man. I mean, this isn't like a hillside.
You have your hand up, Kyle?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to weigh in on the planning board. They do not require a certificate of compliance from the commission in order to do lot releases. I spoke with Evan Sears, who manages the planning board for the planning department, about that, and he confirmed that they do not require that certificate of compliance before releasing the lots.
Okay, thank you.
So then could we have not done the restoration area and built the house and just closed out the order of conditions for lot 2?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
If we don't need approval for the roadway order of conditions, could we simply have gotten the lots released, not done any other restoration work, and just built the house on lot 2 and closed out the order of conditions for lot 2? And never closed the order of conditions for the roadway?
Are you asking me that?
Well, I'm asking the commission in general.
That's a planning board issue. The lot releases, the lots are held by the planning board, not the conservation commission.
So, but what I'm saying is, if there is no standard for, if you don't have to get the order of conditions for the roadway closed, then what prevents you from ever closing it?
That's.
You can ask for a certificate of compliance later down the road. You don't have to do it now.
Right, but what would prevent us from not doing any of the work?
You have to have a road to have the houses. Anyway, Madam Chair, I encourage us to wrap this.
I don't think you answered that.
So many more things to do. We've gone way too long. So I would, unfortunately, I think, Justin, I think we have a choice of either just continuing till next week. I'm sorry, to the next meeting, which doesn't seem worthwhile, because that certainly will just continue the same arguments over and over again. The other option would be to require, in order to stay consistent, to require evidence of growth in order to show permanent erosion prevention, which would be waiting for until things have germinated and it appears as though everything has been established. Lily, you have your hand up?
I was going to make one other point. If, we are doing this as 2 separate conditions, even if they have that issue with the financial, if it was not that gray area, we would be requiring the vegetation and it would still be open. They'd still be coming across that financial issue of this being open and not closed, and that they needed also get the lots released thing. So either way, whether it's this weird ambiguity or if it was, how we move forward and it's, more defined, there'd still be two concurrent things happening financially.
Mr. Kennedy, your hand?
Um, I know Kyle wasn't here when we made these two order of conditions and that he resents that fact. If you recall, Joyce and Peggy, I believe you were both on the board. Megan Chav was very detailed. I know you guys say this is a messy situation. I don't agree with that. I think Megan was extremely detailed and very diligent. We had two order of conditions specifically for this reason. Joyce, you were there, and Peggy recalls it too. So we could close out the roadway and then focus on lot 2. This is exactly why there's two orders of conditions. And there is jurisdiction from the commission on lot 2 for this area that it's stabilized. If you guys say something's not stabilized, what isn't stabilized? You haven't said that.
The question is permanent stabilization.
No.
The matting will definitely stabilize that
Right.
that area from running off into the street for sure. But the question is permanent stabilization, and
This is
at this point it's
that I don't know what the problem is here, and I think that's it feels like you're trying to hold that over us, and it's not fair. And I know you're using a term permanent, but in reality, it's stabilized today, and that should be sufficient. So I don't agree with that analysis, and we've proven through diligence and the past hour and a half talking with you that we stand behind our product, and we have an order of conditions on lot 2. So I don't know what the problem is here. This is exactly why there was two orders of conditions. Joyce, you know it. You were at the meetings. And so wasn't Peggy.
honestly
With Megan.
I really
Never mind how much better this is than it was. You guys are talking about, this isn't protecting the wetlands. Look at the wetlands and nothing's even happened there.
Call this meeting.
That's your whole goal.
We need to move. This is unacceptable.
Okay.
You're right, Kyle.
We will stop this discussion here. We will speak as a, well, we have to do it in public. So right now, commissioners, I need a motion. There's either a motion to close and then to issue a certificate of compliance, or a motion to continue with a recommendation for evidence of permanent stabilization of the site. Those would be the two options, I believe, that we have.
Or motion
Well, we
to
would need to know
deny.
what to do if you
Yeah.
don't approve it.
Peggy?
I would make a motion to close and issue the certificate of compliance. This is a little bit different than the issue that we had last night. In fact, that other issue that we had last night, that person was selling the property. This is a little bit different. This group of gentlemen are going to be around for another 6 months or so, and we can establish growth at that time. If Kyle feels that there's erosion again, that would be addressed. So I feel like these two issues are a little bit different. I don't feel like we're waffling on our commitment to protection of the properties, and I don't feel like we're
We're not being inconsistent.
ignoring our responsibility here. So I think it's two different. So I would make a motion to close and to issue a certificate of
We have to
compliance.
do the closure first.
Okay, so I make a
Madam-
motion to close
Chair,
author
this
estates
is not-
extension.
Hold on one moment, please.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, this isn't a public hearing. We do not need the vote to close. You can just make the motion, Peggy, without the vote to close.
Oh, just to issue
Okay.
the certificate.
If that's the motion that she wants to make, she does not need to do the vote to close before that.
Okay, I make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for the Arthur Street extension.
Is there a second on that motion?
I second it.
The motion's been made and seconded to issue a certificate of compliance for the Arthur Street Extension section of Arthur Estates. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
I abstain.
Map I.
Talbot, abstain.
And Voris abstain. So we have 2 of 1, 2, 3, 4
No majority, Madam Chair.
majority. Therefore, the certificate of compliance is denied.
Well, it's not necessarily denied. That would probably need a separate vote. It just didn't pass.
The vote did not pass because, because of a, And that's never happened here for me before, so.
May I recommend, Madam Chair, that we just vote to continue to next month, and we can move on with the agenda, and then
Yes.
we can
And then we will, and we can.
offer guidance next month. It's 8:30 already. We've got
Certainly,
things
thank
to
you.
go.
And certainly everyone would be able to have a chance to at least look at the packet that was sent by Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Spa. Okay. So, gentlemen, we're going to.
So we talked about it for an hour and a half, and
Motion.
that's what we get?
To
A
continue
motion, please, to continue.
for the next
This
meeting
is
in February.
crazy.
Motion to continue.
I make a motion to continue Arthur Street extension to the next February meeting.
A second. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Abstain. Curtis abstains.
Green, aye.
Map I.
Talbot, aye.
And Voris, aye. Okay, so that motion passes. We will see you next month, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Okay, where are we on the agenda? I don't even know what my agenda is.
455 Oak Street, item number 5. Also request of certificate of
Hold on.
I think 5 was taken off the menu. I think it's
Just looking for my
6.
print copy of my agenda.
current filings. My fault. 82 Ames Street, notice of intent.
Ah. Okay, 450. 82 Ames Street, Riverhawk. There was something about an applicant response to a teleconference with Beta. Where the
Yeah, we still haven't received anything, so I don't believe there's anyone in the audience or the attendees to discuss this tonight, Madam Chair.
okay,
I
thank
would recommend we just continue this to the February meeting.
Okay.
Which one was that?
Vote to,
I make a motion to continue 82 Ames Street to the February meeting.
Second.
roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Map I.
Talbot, aye.
Boris, aye. Thank you. The next one is 1005 Belmont Street.
Yeah, we have a few people here to discuss this with the commission tonight.
Hello.
Hi, Ms. Joyce. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Rothschild.
So I'll just, if it's okay with you, I'll just hop right in.
Please do. Please do.
I'll share my screen and we'll get going. Let's see here. So This is 1005 Belmont Street. We were here quite a few months ago. We've been going through a review with Beta, and in the same breath, we've also been going through with planning. We actually recently, earlier this month, received approval from the planning board, and that was after he met and spoken with Beta. So this project is at 1005 Belmont Street. Just to refresh your memory, it's the where the roadway apartments are. This is roadway apartments two, roadway two. It's going to be a 29 unit building with office below. This kind of shows you a locus of where the proposed building is in relation to the existing building. Along Belmont Street to the page west is the on-ramp to Route 24, and diagonally across the street would be the VA hospital. It's another aerial view showing you the location of the proposed building. It's in the area of that proposed asphalt. When we first met, we had building footprint that went over the edge of the asphalt. We whittled that down. I think it was 31 units with some office space. Went down to 29 units. This is another view of the existing parking area where the proposed building would go. This is the existing site plan. So it's a 3.25 acre site. There's a brook to the rear with an associated floodplain and bordering vegetated wetland. The proposed work is within the paved area. This is the demo plan. And the hatched area is the area of disturbance within the parking area. That has expanded a little bit, but that's as a result of working with the peer review engineers. And of course of the review, we've added some additional stormwater controls. So since you've seen the project last, the things that we've really done, we've added some fencing on this plan here, in this area here, and at the top of the stairs here. That fencing is just going to say something to the extent of environmentally sensitive area, emergency access only, and that would restrict access to that 25-foot buffer. The area below, hatched in green, is the area where asphalt's going to be removed. We're proposing to plant there as a New England conservation wildlife mix from the New England wetland plants. It's an area of approximately 5,000 square feet. Overall, as a result of the project, we'd be removing approximately 7,500 square feet of impervious area from within the 100-foot buffer. We also added some scour protection to the outlets. That was one of the comments from Beta. They had a whole list of comments. The major things that changed were the scour protection at the outlets. We added some additional erosion controls. You would have, those are shown in the demo plan, mainly around areas of stockpile and things of that nature, just to have secondary containment in case of sediment loss. We performed some test pits to confirm groundwater elevations, and as a result, our infiltration areas, we ended up using a smaller chamber, but we have more of them, and that's just to decrease the overall height of the system to increase the separation to stormwater. We also shifted those infiltration areas a little further away from the wetland. We were within the 50-foot buffer to the BVW, slightly with some of the infiltration areas. Those are all moved completely outside of the 50-foot buffer. We're now proposing a Cape Cod berm along the edge of the parking area and some additional catch basins in order to try and capture all the storm water running off the parking area before it enters into the wetland area. So it'll all be directed into the infiltration chambers, which will have an isolator row to remove the sediment. And then during large storm events, it'll overflow to the wetland area. Based on working with both the Beta and the DPW, the stormwater reduction in all events will be 40% or greater, which is a pretty significant reduction, which meets the stormwater bylaws. I think that's really the main changes. I don't want to harp on the project too long. I know it's been a long night so far, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. There was, let's see here. They have a little planting plan here as well. The architect had put together for the plants in this area. And like I said, the New England wetland mix will be in the hatched area below. So those are kind of the main changes uh, from what we had originally proposed and what we saw going through with beta. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Kyle, do you have anything to add?
No, but Elise is online here tonight from Beta to answer any questions that the commission has concerning this project.
Kyle, before I open it up, I'm sorry, Elise, before I open it up to the commissioners, do you have any comments?
I basically, Michael did a great job just summarizing. Essentially, the last bits of the beta stormwater review were kind of what was holding things up a little bit, and the kind of concerns we had about meeting the maximum extent practicable and any changes that could be made, those were made. So and that had to do with raising the height of the infiltration system to actually have a little bit more separation. So that was resolved, and ultimately kind of what it boiled down to as far as action or I guess administrative kind of items for the commission is a few things. So the first thing was that the commission just needs to, as part of the administrative, approve buffer zone restoration within that 25-foot, because that's within the no-touch zone, as well as approval of the markers that are being proposed, make sure that the commission is comfortable with that and how it's being proposed. And the last item was if the commission wanted to see plantings within that 25-foot restoration area, or if they were content with the seed mix that was proposed. So that kind of is the last little bits of items that we had that aren't, anything that would hold anything up. It's just basically up to the commission on those. So, I'd be happy to answer any other questions. But otherwise I will defer to the commission.
Okay. And Mr. Joyce, you mentioned that fence. Is
Yeah.
that going to be the limit of access to the 25-foot area for?
That was our intent, rather than trying, we identified this area here, as a fence and then a gate at the top of the stairs. Just figured, rather than allowing any access, we just make it emergency access only. It kind of keeps it easier for the residents, and actually it's, hopefully easier for, to maintain as well if no one's going down there, so.
Okay. So that would be your 25-foot no disturb.
Yeah, there is this area in the back, but it's kind of lost space. It's outside the 25-foot, so I don't think there'd be any intent. I do want to note that we do show the wetland mix right up to the building face, but I know the fire department wants to see 18 inches of gravel up against the building foundation. So I would think that there may be like a um, that would probably be there. We don't have, it's not detailed in this drawing, but it is part of the conditions of the planning approval, which is a standard fire department request.
Thank you.
Well, also, I think there's an emergency exit in the back, so you'd need to be able to
Right.
walk
Yeah.
around on the building.
And the very back of the building itself.
Correct. Yeah.
Commissioners, how do you feel about the mix? Oh, Lily?
No, I don't have any opinion on that one yet because I know we're getting to it. But just because I know it's been a while, just to, I guess, so for clarification, one, the 18-inch gravel, would that, I guess, at least affect anything with the stormwater calculations? Okay.
No,
And then,
yeah, it's crushed stone, so it's really stormwater
Okay.
storage. We didn't take credit for it, obviously, but I think from the fire department's perspective, it's just so that there's if anyone drops a cigarette or something out the window, or there's
yeah.
kind of a flame buffer there, so to speak.
that makes sense. Don't want the 25-foot up in flames.
Sure, yeah.
And then I know the emergency restriction, I guess that just in terms of, I guess, locking both the emergency exit unless needed for, I guess, a fire or something, and I guess the gate to get through the fence, because can't have people climb over a fence for emergency access. I guess just where that would be and how or who would maintain making sure that that is locked and that people can't access it, I guess, easily.
Yep.
So some code was before.
So there would be a gate on either side, and I'm not. It's a fair question
Just
on how
swing
it's
in one
locked and
direction.
maintained, but
It just swing out
Just
for
swing.
emergency.
so let's have a one-way gate on it, more or less. So
Yeah.
you have to come from inside to go through the emergency exit to open it, unless you have a key. Emily, was that how it would work?
Yeah, although I don't think the fire department's going to be thrilled
Crazy
about
about
us
that.
locking
Yeah.
out the back of the building. So I think one can trust that people are, with the gate and the fence there, people aren't going to be interested in going back there.
And it's something we'll have staff on site that you can enforce that as well.
Yeah, we're going to have 24-hour staff on site. I don't expect they will want to, and if they do, we certainly can handle it.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
it's much more attractive to hang out on the patio area, more attractive to the people living there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Peggy?
Are there going to be any wetland markers? Uh,
So
s-
yeah,
just
we haven't proposed any, only because we did say, we have what it says is, how do I zoom in here? I don't know if that changes things.
environmentally sensitive area,
Yeah,
emergency access only.
only
Okay.
that's what we proposed. We could put signs lower down, but our hope is that nobody goes back there.
It looks great. It
Yeah.
looks really good.
Because I know Lisa mentioned it, does the commission, because usually we have markers along the 25 foot. I know it's deep within, well, with social seed mix with things, so it's not really like tall shrubbery, but would there still be deep for the commission? I guess should we still mark off the 25 foot for if future whatever, or just for extra? If someone is back there, at least trying to prevent them from going to the
My
25 foot.
understanding is we've had that as a requirement for like individual homes because they get sold and then changed, ownership. I'm not sure. Kyle, what do you think about markers at the
Yeah.
25?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was also what my kind of question was. I was going to ask, uh, with the 25-foot buffer zone as is, I don't know that makes a lot of sense. I think that there might be a better way that we could phrase this, to kind of limit that area, designate that area as kind of like a conservation area. So in Beta's report, it mentions that their permanent markers consist of a fence and a gate. Mike, can you show us where that fence and gate would be on the plan, please?
Yeah, I might have to, hold on a second. I might have to zoom out a little bit or exit the.
Yeah, could I just ask if we have to put signs there, I'd greatly prefer to say conservation area rather than environmentally sensitive. We have people with mental illness and they're gonna think that it's contaminated. I don't.
Yeah,
Like-
that's on me. I was
Okay.
technical with it, but
Conservation's fine. I think
well,
people understand what that means.
yeah, the conservation areas is
Yeah.
probably better. But so the gate was proposed at the top of the stairs here, and then the fence is shown just at the back of the transformer. And this is the 25-foot buffer here.
So we could put a sign on the gate on the fence there by the transformer, and then there's the proposed fencing gate on the north side of the building that we could put. Is there a fence or anything halting anyone from like jumping over that retaining wall, or is that like an 8-foot wall? What's the height of that?
I think it's gonna be similar to the height of the wall that's there now. Let me pop to the grading plan and I can tell you exactly what it is. It's about a 5-foot wall. So yeah, because the elevation at the bottom is gonna be 106 and the elevation at the top's 110, 111.
And that will be a new wall that you're building, correct?
Yeah, so it's gonna be new wall this is the existing wall here. And the plan right now is to cut it and then build a new wall. That leg there will be new, yes.
Yeah. Well, would it be possible to put some sort of post in the new portion of the wall that could have a sign that kind of we could maybe I was just thinking for our signage for the commission because all of that area is kind of within that 25 foot, right?
Yeah,
If we could put some sort of signage at the top of that retention wall, by the gate and by the fence,
yeah,
and basically the rest of that back there is kind of contained within the 25 or the area that we've replanted.
sure. Yeah, I think we're willing to put signs, coordinate with you. There may even be, I'm not sure what that wall looks like. There may even be a little fence on the top of it where we could mount it right to that fence.
Yeah, great.
But yeah,
Okay. I mean, that would be what I would recommend is we'll kind of draw a line along that wall, and then the fence on the south side of the building and put the signage around there.
And then we wouldn't have to worry about it all along the 25 foot because
Yeah, I think I would. Look, I'm tired. I think I forgot where the emergency exit was. I was for some reason thinking it was like way back in the building, but yeah, it doesn't look like this.
Emily, what was the
Anyone would want
terminology?
to access that.
What was the
Pardon me?
terminology that you suggested?
Conservation area. Then we're just trying to preserve a nice natural area instead of, environmentally sensitive and
Yeah.
we're thinking there's, something that's poisonous back there.
Yeah.
Will
Okay.
there be any mowing or pesticide use in the back area there behind that building?
no, we didn't have any intention on doing that. If I would think at the most we
Conservation area,
maybe do like spring and a fall just to, but that would be up to the commission as well. But we weren't intending on maintaining it outside of putting the wetland mix in, the buffer mix.
Okay.
Questions, anyone else? Oh, Peggy, you still have your hand up? Okay, Kyle?
Yeah, no, I do have a couple questions though. Just when we're drawing that line for the conservation signage, Mike, can you talk about the stairway on the north side of the building? That's going to be there's going to be a gate there. What's
Yes.
that access? Is that just I must have missed it earlier. That's just
Yeah, it's emergency access for around the building. So there's a door. I think it's right here. And there's one at the rear and one here. So it's just so in the event of a fire, they're basically fire escapes.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know we don't want signs everywhere, but there is an emergency door at the very back. Is it possible just to have like one sign back there, just like if someone does end up out there for whatever reason, or like if during an emergency, just so they know not to go running in the woods, I guess.
I think if there's an emergency, they should go where they're going to be safe.
That's true. Or like
Building's on fire. I want them to get as far away from the building as possible.
But yeah, we're willing to,
Yeah.
wherever you recommend, we're willing to put signs.
Yeah, that's
Will the emergency exits have an alarm? So if someone goes out that door, it will set
Yeah.
off an alarm for the building.
They will. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know that there's going to be a lot of just, random use of those doors if they're going to be alarmed. So
Yeah, they really try to control, to one or two exits. So I think it's the front exit and the patio exit would be
Side
the
here, yeah.
being used.
okay. Then yeah, that makes sense then.
Are they allowed smoking? Is there a smoking area?
Outside the building on somewhere around the patio that's far enough away from the door.
Mhm. Thank you.
Not inside the building.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you feel comfortable to make a motion to close? Oh, is Sharifa and if you could stop sharing, please.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Good with that. Thank you. Justin or Sharifa, do you have any questions, comments?
No, I think, Madam Chair, I think this is great, and
I love the artist rendition. That looks great.
yeah, it looks great. I make a motion to close if possible.
Okay. Motion has been made to close. Second? Oh,
I think Lily has a question.
I just wanted to, sorry, I know it's a long night and I think I might be missing notes for some reason whenever we talk. The other beta special condition was making sure the stockpile and staging area is surrounded by supplemental erosion control. Was that mentioned what that supplemental erosion control was, or I might have just missed it?
So we revised our demolition plan to show compost socks around the stockpile and staging areas as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I believe there's been a motion to close from Justin. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the hearing on 1005 Belmont Street. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green, aye.
Map I.
Talbot, aye.
Morris, aye, that passes. A motion to what are we doing? Issue an order of conditions for 1005 Belmont Street. Elise, would you mind reading down what the list of special conditions would be? So we all
Sure.
have our
Yeah. So our special conditions or recommended special conditions up to the commission, that stockpile and staging areas within buffer zone must be surrounded by supplemental erosion controls, that the 25-foot no disturb restoration area shall be maintained as a naturalized vegetated area in perpetuity. And then the last one was subject to just the commission's decision on if they wanted plantings or not. And so it was if you guys did want plantings in addition to what was already proposed for restoration seed, then it was just that the conservation agent, basically that the applicant work with the agent to develop a list that's appropriate by the agent. And then last but not least, we just recommended a finding be included in the order of conditions that the bordering land subject to flooding, the floodplain boundary was determined at elevation 105.1, and that it was just determined for the purposes of this filing only.
Okay. Thank you.
And it might be helpful for the commission perhaps to include a condition that, like, maybe finalized locations of conservation area signage will be, coordinated with the agent or something along those lines.
If I could add maybe verbiage to that as well, just so.
What,
the verbiage of the sign, the phrasing.
yeah, you could work with Kyle to address that, certainly. Okay, Kyle, do you have any other suggestions, recommendations, or anything?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. The one thing, rather than just taking the verbiage directly from Beta, the second point that Elise recommended special condition that Beta provided was the 25-foot no disturbed restoration area. I might change the language there because there's a portion of in the back of the building that's not within the 25-foot, but it is part of the restoration planting. So I might modify how that's phrased so we get the entirety of the restoration planting that's going to be maintained in perpetuity. And then, yeah, we'll include some language for the conservation markers are basically going to run along that retention wall that we spoke about and across the gate on the southern side of the building, as discussed at the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And commissioners, do you feel comfortable with the naturalization, like using conservation mix and have it naturalized that way? Do you feel as though there has to be specific plantings? You comfortable with the conservation mix?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I entertain a motion, please, to grant a certificate of, no, not a certificate of compliance, I'm sorry, I am
Order of
exhausted.
conditions.
Notice of intent.
An order of
I make,
condition.
I make a motion to issue an order of conditions to 1005 Belmont Street with the special conditions that will have some change verbiage that Beta recommended, especially around that 25-foot no disturb restoration to include that whole area that's on the plan, along with the verbiage that Kyle will work with the applicant about the conservation markers that will run along the retaining wall and southern fence, the stockpile and staging area, and well, actually, the other one was just the mix. So yeah.
I'll second.
Oh, that was a thank you. So the motion's been made and seconded to issue
Order of conditions.
Special order of conditions.
Order of
With special orders.
conditions with special conditions as recommended by Beta and agreed upon in this meeting tonight. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Mac,
Talbot, aye.
And Boris, aye. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
It'll be nice to see.
We're excited. Thank you very much.
Good job.
It really was. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is number 8940 Belmont Street, the VA hospital stormwater.
That's right, Madam Chair. I've promoted the representative Terry Reynolds to be a panelist. If I may, I can just give a quick summary of action since the last meeting.
Thank you.
At the last meeting, the commission requested there was some debate between the applicant and Beta as far as the direction that the stormwater review should go in. About it really came down to how the commission wished to classify the existing conditions on the site, and that kind of works its way into if Beta should be reviewing this as a new development or a redevelopment. The commission tasked me to reach out to various people in Mass DEP and get a recommendation for the commission. I have done that since our last meeting. Terry provided me with a contact that he spoke with at Mass DEP that I followed up with that individual as well. And ultimately, my recommendation is that this is a gray area in the regulations, and I think that it's important that the commission make this decision themselves. So my recommendation is that we schedule a visit to the site that a majority of the commission can attend, where we can go out and hopefully Terry can join us on site, or someone else that is representing the applicant to kind of walk around and view some various areas, and the commission can then determine if they want to classify these things as a impervious or a pervious surface currently, and that will affect how the review goes down the line. This has been held up for about a month and a half, kind of on this question. So I think the earlier we can schedule this visit, the better. We don't need to have a vote necessarily in a public meeting to address this. So once we schedule this visit, the commission can go out on site, make a decision then, and we can move forward with the review process. Ultimately, this decision needs to be defendable by the commission. So whichever way the commission comes down, the commission needs to be comfortable with that decision. And I don't really feel comfortable saying this is what Kyle thinks and this is the way that it should be. So I would be on the site visit with you. We can talk about all of these things when we're there, but ultimately I think it's important the commission really take a look at this themselves and come to a decision.
So basically, is degraded concrete pervious or impervious? Is that kind of like the question that
Yes.
you're looking at?
Yeah, more or less, I believe. Yep.
Are you interested in scheduling that tonight?
I think that would be beneficial for everyone involved. I know that Terry's anxious to get this review process back and started, so maybe next week would be appropriate if the commission can meet sometime in the evening after work or something. I think that would be good.
I could meet before Thursday. From Thursday on, I'll be out of town.
Tuesday evening looks good for me.
I only can do Wednesday or Monday.
Tuesday evening also works for me.
And that's fine if I don't have to be there. I mean, someone could take pictures and send me the information, if that's okay.
It's not too late.
Talk about if we have too many people, we can't really talk about it because it'd be quorum. So wouldn't we have to do separate visits? So like make sure we don't have.
I think Kyle was going to address that.
Oh no, that's a fair point, Lily. Yeah, we do have to be careful with quorum and discussion. So any discussion needs to be, if we have enough members that we have a quorum, that needs to be a public meeting and announced and all that kind of stuff. So on one hand, that's an issue because obviously we need to have that discussion. So maybe what we should do is tonight, the commission can delegate a subcommittee to go out and assess this. And that subcommittee can consist of 3 members of the commission that will go out and visit the site. That will not be a quorum, and that subcommittee will be the ones that are available on whatever day we choose to select. And the commission will empower that subcommittee to make this decision on the commission's full behalf. And so that might be a way to work around this. Justin's got his hand raised, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Justin.
Hey, I'm sorry, Kyle, did I understand what you said? So whoever goes there, we review the site, we have a conversation with Mr. Reynolds and whoever else is there. They don't have to wait for the next meeting to make a decision. It can happen on site.
Yeah, basically, what we're looking for is just guidance to provide beta in the direction that they should be conducting their review. Right now, beta's looking at this as a new development, and the applicant is contesting that standard of review and is insisting or suggesting that this is actually should be considered a redevelopment. So we need to provide guidance for the commission needs to provide guidance for the commission's consultant to do the review on the commission's behalf. So we're just providing guidance for how this review will be done. So I think that the commission can designate 3 members to go out to the site next week, and those 3 members can have a full discussion. We won't be breaking any open meeting laws because we won't have a quorum, and that subcommittee can make that decision on behalf of the commission and then provide that guidance to Beta to continue the review.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, because we already voted to send it out for third-party review. We just have to figure out how it's
Yeah,
getting
the
reviewed.
review is ongoing. There have been a couple of rounds of review already. Mr. Reynolds has his hand raised now, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Reynolds.
Yes, I just wanted to I can be available pretty much any day next week with the exception of Tuesday night. I have another meeting that night.
Yeah, Tuesday's out for me as well, so Monday or Wednesday is fine.
I can make room Monday or Wednesday if needed. What time Monday, I guess, would be, but I can make room Monday before 6:30.
I think we'd want to see, right? We'd want to be able to visibly.
Oh, yeah, that's
a fair point.
Yeah. Might be nice to go at around 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock or something like that.
Oh, yeah, then I can definitely do that on a Monday.
Monday will work for me.
Peggy?
Monday is good for me.
Monday I'm totally booked, but let's see, Wednesday I could probably do around 4 o'clock or a little bit earlier.
I think we should try to shoot for a little bit before 4. It's already beginning to get dark around that time, so 3:30 I think might be better, or 3.
Yeah, 3:30 would be great on Wednesday. Is that correct?
And then Lily, you said you could do either one of those days? Or
I could do before I have a guy have something on Monday. I could do like 3 or 2:30 on Monday, or any time Wednesday. I can make myself available for Wednesday.
And then Justin, do you have a time or?
So I'm fortunate being a small business owner. The only issue is I'm flying back from Tennessee. I'm leaving Friday morning. I'm coming back Monday.
Yeah.
So I could definitely make it Wednesday.
I'm sorry, I can't do Wednesday.
I think we have at least 3 people that are able to do it Wednesday, though. So let's select the time on Wednesday. Terry can be there on Wednesday. I'll be able to make it on Wednesday. And then we can select the 3 members of the commission that we want to designate as the people that will go and make this decision on the commission's behalf.
Yeah. So what do we have on Wednesday availability? We have Peggy. Is that correct, Peg?
Yes.
You are available?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm.
Available on Monday?
Not on Monday, no.
Teresa?
I'm available Wednesday, but I have to be in Stoughton by 4:30 to so I need to leave so I can beat traffic. So the earlier better. It's fine for me on Wednesday.
So maybe Peggy, Lily, and Justin on Wednesday?
I forgot I will not be I'll be up in Lobo Wednesday for Environthon.
Oh, okay. Peggy,
Well, it sounded like Sharifa could be there Wednesday.
well, I can make it on Wednesday.
All right. What time on Wednesday? Sharifa needs it to be earlier. Can we do 3 o'clock or 2:30?
2:30,
So 4 people
2
would be,
o'clock.
We need 3 people, Madam Chair, is who we're looking to select.
okay. Then Sharifa, Peggy, and Justin? But Sharifa, is that okay with you for the time if it was?
That's totally fine. That's perfect. 2:30.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, I didn't mute the mic when I was coughing. Yeah, that will work for me. Terry, will that work for you? 2:30 at Wednesday next week on the 5th?
Yes.
And if anything happens where one of you can't make it, I'm happy to fill in.
Okay, I can be there.
Wednesday.
All right, great. I'll work with Terry to organize where we're gonna meet. We might have to get some permission from the administrators of the site. But I'll send that information out to the rest of the commission about where we're gonna meet on Wednesday next week.
I can coordinate with the VA because we probably have to get visitor passes.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Terry. And we'll you and I will email and then I can kind of send that out to the commission. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, good. That sounds great. Thank you, Kyle. So we'll just continue to the next meeting then.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So do we have a
I make a motion to continue
Mm.
940 Belmont Street to the February meeting, with the whole subcommittee going to site visit before that meeting, I guess. I don't know if that matters.
I'll second the motion.
motion's been made and seconded to continue 940 Belmont Street to the meeting in February.
What is our next meeting date?
February 19th.
February 19th.
Okay.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Talbot, aye.
And Boris, aye. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you.
The next, I don't know, Kyle, if you could let us know if for number 9, 10, 11, and 12, they're peer review. Have you received anything new on any of those?
No, I've not received any new information. I don't anticipate anyone's here in the attendees list to discuss these. If they are, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I just recommend that we continue to next month for the next 4 filings, 9 through 12.
Anyone have their hand up? I don't see it.
I don't see any hands raised, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So a motion, please, to continue the next 4 items, 9, 10, 11, and 12 to the next meeting.
Can I make a motion without 4, or do we have to do it individually?
Yeah, we can do a 4 tonight.
Okay. I make a motion to continue items 9, which is 549 Copeland Street, item 10, 30 Interville Street, item 11, 0 Lawton Ave, and item 12, 136 Brookins Ave to the next meeting, February 19th.
What
Second.
about 13 and 14?
Well, those have, I think those have actually been continued already.
Have they? Okay.
So do we have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, was that Justin that said that?
Justin seconded.
I
Yeah.
second.
Okay, thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Map I.
Talbot, aye.
And Boris, aye. That motion passes. Yep, so 13 was continued to February and 14 to March at the request of the applicants. The next item on the agenda is 29 Country Club Lane.
Yes, Madam Chair, just an update for the commission. The commission issued an enforcement order against the property owner here at 29 Country Club Lane about 2 months ago. I initially spoke to the property owner. They were willing to work with the commission, but they've since changed their mind and they are not going to, they're going to challenge, I guess, the enforcement order. The deadline that we gave them was February 5th with a filing deadline for the February meeting to provide a restoration plan for the commission to review. Once that deadline has passed, I've already spoken with the members of the Brockton law department, we will begin enforcement of the enforcement order after that deadline has passed. So next week, I'll be in communication with the law department and we'll get the ball rolling on this enforcement.
Okay, thank you. And a violation discussion for 11 Monarch Street.
Yep, we've had a few of these that are kind of similar. This is just, I didn't require that the property owner attend the meeting tonight. This is just a violation that was brought to my attention by a member of the inspectional service department at Brockton. This address had just a bunch of trash piled up in their backyard right next to a waterway. So the inspectional service department issued citations, and I just issued this notice of violation, giving them 30 days to get this material removed. That 30-day period is up next Monday, so I will drive by and reinspect. It's much easier for the inspectional service department to issue fines and citations, than it is for us to do monetary citations like that. So hoping we can get this handled through the inspectional service department. This is just kind of an information FYI for the commission that this has been issued, and we'll follow up with it next month.
Okay, thank you. 0 West Chestnut Street.
Yeah, so I did send out a notice of violation letter for this, and I think there's some people here to speak about this violation potentially as well. But in general, a little bit of history for the commission. This is a site that has an active order of conditions that was issued in 2017. It's still active now. There have been various extensions and then extensions from the governor that has granted this order to be active currently. That was for a wetland crossing and buffer zone restoration area. This violation came to my attention when the applicant, the property owner, went to planning board last month to get a definitive subdivision plan approved. And the plan they submitted to the planning board was significantly different from the plan that the commission approved in 2017. So I went out to the site and reviewed the changes. There were some changes on the plan that I didn't know if anything had been installed yet. Most notably, the plan that was submitted to the planning board had um, like a drainage outlet emptying directly into the wetland that was not approved under the 2017 plan. So the notice of violation that I sent made two requests of the property owner. One, that they update their DEP file number sign at the beginning, at the roadway. It was an outdated number from an order of conditions that was 20 years old. So I did get a call from the property owner today that said that sign has been updated. I've not had a chance to get out there yet to make sure that the new sign is installed and it's the proper number, but I've been assured that it has been. And then the second thing that I asked them to do is to provide the commission with an as-built of exactly what's been done on the site currently, because right now it's just I don't know if there's a violation that has occurred. Obviously, the commission didn't approve that outlet, but it may not be connected to anything now, and it probably isn't because the roadway hasn't been installed. So I've asked them to provide that to the commission so we can have that to look at and have that discussion down the line. I didn't require that anyone attend the meeting tonight, but this is just an informational thing. So you all know that we have issued this violation. We are requiring that they submit us an as-built so we can see what's been done. And then if there is a violation, we can pursue that, next month at the meeting and issue an enforcement order if necessary. And that's kind of where things are now. Any questions for me about the violation that's been sent?
So was that order of conditions specifically for a wetland crossing?
Yes, Madam Chair, it was.
Okay, so there's no subdivision or anything plans yet?
Not yet. No. So my understanding is the order of conditions was only for this wetland crossing and a wetland restoration associated with that. There's no roadway. There's obviously a path to get back there. They had to get back there with the machinery, but now it's just a wetland crossing that's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So that's what the commission approved in 2017.
Okay, thank you.
This isn't a public hearing, but I think there might be people from the public that may have comments, Madam Chair, if you care to
About
entertain
this
it.
West Chestnut, if we have time, do you feel as though we have time, commissioners?
The last thing is just the utility notice.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Kyle. If you want to promote them, that's fine.
All right, I will do that. I promoted Kathy Nowacki.
Hello, Kathy. Kathy? Yeah.
Okay. Yep, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Kathy Nowacki. I am an abutter of that property, and I'm not going to get into the details of that particular property, but it's riddled with issues. My question for you, I guess, Kyle, is I'd like to check the permit number. Do you happen to know what permit number should be listed? Because I literally could go down the street right now and look.
Let me confirm that I gave you the right one, but the one that I've got on the agenda is SE, which is Southeast Region 1180712. But I'll pull up the order in a moment and confirm
Okay.
that.
All right, and the other question that I have is, I don't know a lot about wetlands and the guidelines and all of that, but the HOA property that I live in is the immediate abutters to that property, which I believe could be wetlands, and then my property, private property, is right after that. Having stormwater drains going into a wetlands area do you have any concerns with that?
Yeah, that would have to be approved under, the
Okay.
authority of the Conservation Commission, and it hasn't been at this point in
Okay.
time. So
Right.
if they were to move forward with any sort of development there, that would have to they would have to demonstrate compliance with the state stormwater standards, and there's a lot that entails. But yes, there's a check on that as far as direct you know
Okay.
deposition of water into the wetland for like
Right.
stormwater.
Please, if I could ask one question, I know the committee has had a hugely long night. The stormwater system has been built already, and that's what the problem is. He had the audacity to go ahead and build this without permits. If the development doesn't get approved and there is no development there, is the existing drainage system still a concern? Or should we continue to pay attention to that even if it's not developed? Because he has a drainage system going into the wetlands already.
So that would be something that that if once we receive that as built that I mentioned a
Okay.
moment ago, if it's built out already,
Yeah.
that is, it's up to the commission to make this call. But
Okay.
if they decide that that's a violation, they could issue an enforcement order and require remediation
Remediation.
to
Okay.
to
All right. Thank you. I
solve that,
appreciate you
however.
giving me a little bit of time with this. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Mhm.
And Madam Chair, if I may, the file number on the agenda is the correct file number that should be displayed for this project out on the road. So I'm going to read that again. It is 118-0712. There's another participant with their hand raised, Madam Chair.
I don't see them. Do you have them promoted?
No, I will if you are.
Please do. It's fine.
I promoted Linda, Madam Chair.
Hi, Linda. Linda?
Hello?
Hi. Could you
Can you
identify
hear-
yourself, please, in your relationship to,
Yes. I am Linda Lynch. I live on Chestnut Drive. The end of our property is very close to where ultimately this developer, if he proceeds into West Bridgewater, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and if not, I know Kyle can fill you in. His ultimate goal is to provide a road to West Bridgewater, not build those houses in Brockton. But I really just have one question with what Kathy just said and how Kyle responded. They're habitually extremely, well, let's just say they're not transparent, this entity. And I just want to know, how will you know what they provide in writing if that covers everything that they actually did?
Well, Kyle would do a site visit for sure. And Kyle would
Well,
want
and the commission could, if the commission decides that there is a violation, the commission could have their consultant go out and do an analysis of what's there, to confirm conditions and to determine the extent of the violation.
Given that their permit is from 2017, I hope that you would consider doing that. I know Kathy lives closer to this than I do. I'm in touch with a lot of the residents in their development, but we've lived there since this began. I don't even know, 2013, maybe earlier. And there's a lot of work going on there. And there's also trucks parked on that property, when they bring dirt in, they bring dirt out. It's, people who don't live there are unaware of all the activity that really goes on there. It looks vacant to people who drive by, but I hope that you'll just consider watching that. Just because they put the updated DEP number on, there's a lot more going on than meets the eye there. So that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kyle, when did you request the as-built to be provided for?
February 5th, which is the filing deadline for next month.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I see another person has their hand raised, Madam Chair.
Pat Jacobson, are you going to promote them?
I have. Oh, I guess, sorry. I guess it didn't go through. Let me try this again. All right, Pat has been promoted.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, this is Pat Jacobson. Can you hear me okay?
Certainly.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Can you
Okay.
identify how you're related to the
I live in Chestnut Woods, which is the development that is abuts this property, and I just want to spend about 1 second here talking about this. I am a trustee of the homeowners association, so our land is where this water, some of this water is probably going into the wetlands near us. We already have some water problems in the area anyway. So I would reiterate what everyone else has said. I think that you need to be very careful with what you're being told versus what's the reality in the situation here. And that was just what it appears that Kyle's being quite diligent about this. And I would just like to reiterate what other folks have said. I represent the 27 homeowners in that over 55 development that abuts there. And we've had some interesting problems with it as this has gone on. So I do appreciate just being able to throw that out there.
Okay, thank you. I know earlier someone mentioned something about an HOA, so that's for the over.
Yeah,
55
there's 27 houses, and we have and the only land we have in common really is what abuts that proposed development, as well as another small piece of land. So yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And And is that it? There's a Diana in the waiting, but I don't see a hand up, right?
I see no hands raised, Madam Chair.
Good. Eversource, did you?
Yeah, we just received a notice from Eversource. They're going to do the replacement of an existing gas main on South Layden Street. They did a similar upgrade on North Layden Street in 2023. So this is just a notice. This is exempt utility work. It's in the file if the commission wants to review the letter. It's mostly just an FYI type of thing. So I don't see any problem with this, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I entertain a motion to end this meeting.
Make a motion to end the meeting.
Second that motion.
Roll call vote.
Curtis, I.
Green eye.
Yeah, aye.
Talbot, aye.
Boris, aye. Aye, aye, aye.